All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I am Jeff Thielman. I'm calling to order the school committee meeting of December 4th, 2025. We have a very full agenda, and we're glad to have so many people in the room. We have some people remote this evening, one of our members and some staff. Because a member is participating remotely, all votes required will be taken by roll call. Persons wishing to access the meeting using Zoom may find information on how to do so on the town's website. The posted agenda and supporting materials for this meeting are also available on the town's website. We can't participate in Zoom because of open meeting law. So our first order of business is public comment. Cheryl Miller. I think you know our rules, so you have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Cheryl Miller. I live at 10 Thesda Street, and I am an autistic parent of 2 students with disabilities in Arlington. Today I'd like to talk about special education and the humanity of students with disabilities and their families. Last June, the Audison IEP team wrote an IEP for my son that set my son up for failure and chronic absenteeism. I said so during the meeting over and over. I showed evidence. I begged for change. Not for the first time. It was refused by the experts, and the IEP was forced through over our objections. As an aside, this is an example of Arlington Special Education's idea of collaboration with families. Result of this IEP was exactly what I predicted. My son has now missed more than 25 school days this year, and there is no plan to help him. In a normal human relationship built on basic respect, the Audison team would have said to us, "Sorry, we messed up. How can we make it right?" But in special education, there is no room for human decency and basic respect. Because to APS, special education is not about students. It's not about education. It's not about equity or opportunity. Special education is first and foremost about the avoidance of liability. That the Audison team forced through an IEP that led to my kid becoming chronically absent is a potential source of liability. And so the team must never, ever show the simple human decency of saying, "Oops, we screwed up, and now your family is having to live with the consequences of our mistake." Instead, they must pretend that it never happened and deny and deflect and gaslight when we show the evidence that it did. Because our family aren't human beings deserving of human decency. We're liabilities to be managed. And I can tell you firsthand, the impact of this is to compound and recompound the harm caused by the original mistake. The impact is to make trust and collaboration impossible. The impact is to make everything unnecessarily more difficult and ultimately, frankly, more expensive. As a school committee, what will you do to challenge Dr. Homan on this? What is your expectation for how the district will respond to families when the district has caused harm? Do you expect them to treat us with common decency, honesty, and respect? Or do you want them to bring down walls of self-protection no matter the harm it does? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. I want to recognize our AEA representative, Jenna Medeiros. Good to see you.
Hi,
Ms. Medeiros. Do you have any updates for us?
No, all good.
Okay. We'll go right to the students. Sophia DeStefanis and Zach Fahn. Welcome. That is like right on cue. It goes dark. You guys have a slide deck for us, right?
Yes,
We do, yeah.
All right.
I got it. Hold on. Okay. We have our November Citizens of the Month. For our student citizen, we have Kelwin. She is an amazing person. She is a cross-country captain this year, as well as a track runner, and she's an amazing teammate. and hard worker, and she's really just a role model for all students. So she is one this month. And then for our teacher of the month.
For our November staff of the month, we have Mr. Bola. I had her my freshman year. She's an absolutely amazing teacher. We wrote that she's a kind, funny, and supportive teacher who works tirelessly to make AHS a welcoming place for students and colleagues alike. She thinks deeply about how to make visual arts classes as enriching as possible. She's elevated the AP Studio art class to a popular, rigorous, collaborative experience where students can create portfolios they feel proud of. Her courses are creative and fun, and she diligently helps all students execute their creative visions. Not only does she support students on their college applications and supplemental portfolios, but she supports them further by making her classroom a safe space to get away by talking to each student every day. For our school updates, winter sports has just started out. So that's hockey, boys swimming, track, basketball, and wrestling. And this is the first year that we have like the full sports season with our new facilities. So our new basketball gym, our new wrestling area, mats and everything.
We also had our first week of the wellness workshops today, and they're just very fun and interactive workshops all over the school, many different ones. We had some alpacas today, very cool. So that's very fun. Arlington High School also won the turkey toss this year, which was very exciting. We had some AHS students on the radio, very cool. And we also have a winter concert coming up on December 12th and 13th.
And that's pretty much it.
Yep.
The turkey toss was like a big upset.
Yeah.
It broke somebody's streak. That's what I read. Yeah. Questions, Mr. Schlickman?
Yeah, I also heard a rumor or something about Waltham on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we had
the
Game.
Thanksgiving game with them, against them.
I'm pretty sure Arlington.
I think Arlington did very well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
As we should.
yeah, as we should, yeah. I can see the superintendent smiling.
yeah, we gotta.
She has no association with Waltham, that's where we hired her from.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, and thanks for putting the time in that report. It's nice to see it on screen. Appreciate it. Okay, next, Joan Roman is going to walk us through the One Meeting project. Joan, you are online?
She online? There she is.
There you are.
Hi.
Hi, Joan. Haven't seen you since you took all those pictures on the opening day of the new high school, or the ribbon cutting.
Yes, that was a wonderful event.
Sure was.
Well, I know you have a lot to go through, so I'll just do this really quickly. Thank you all for your time. I just wanted to do kind of a brief overview of the One Meeting project, a little bit of a background of how we're doing meeting management now, some project status, and show you a couple of school committee templates as an example. Next slide. So as some of you may or may not know, Novus Agenda, the meeting management tool that the school committee currently uses, as well as the select board, the zoning board of appeals, the redevelopment board, the conservation commission, and the board of health uses to make their kind of robust agendas and agenda packets. We were notified about a year and a half ago that was going to, the vendor, Granicus, was going to sunset the product, and we would have to move to another system. At that time, also the Department of Justice came out with what they call the DOJ final rule on Title II for the Americans with Disabilities Act. And basically they were telling municipalities that they had to kind of be ADA compliant for their mobile devices and their websites. I mean, that's been on the books for a while, but it was more of a reaffirmation to, get our act together and make sure we have our right documents ADA compliant. So we decided to take a step back and put together a team of who currently use the Novus Agenda system, and working with Marissa Martin, who is a communications coordinator in my office, and kind of really look at how we can improve our meeting management while we look for these new tools. So In that, we looked at things like, how can we make it better? Well, we want to improve the search. I'm sure if you have to search for past documentation, it can be kind of challenging. Look at meeting management through an ADA lens. We did that. And then, of course, when we looked at the different ways the committee is using the system now, we noticed some kind of inconsistencies in formatting and language and stuff like that. And when you build consistency into digital products, you build in ADA compliance. And one of the themes of ADA compliance is what's good for folks using assistive technology is good for everyone. So we worked on a lot of workflow. So let's go to the next slide. So currently, as I mentioned earlier, if you on the left-hand side is our meeting management. We have actually kind of like two systems we use. We have a screen grab on the top of Novus Agenda, and we have those 6 boards and committees and commissions that I mentioned earlier that use that system. Then below is the website. We have 80+ boards and commissions that are posting a simple a PDF of an agenda in a minute. And then at the very bottom of that screen, you'll see 2 folders that say agendas and minutes. That's if you want to look for things that are before 2014 when we moved to the website. At the time in 2014 was a new website. So people trying to find things historically have to go to a lot of places to find stuff, and it's not, and you got to know where to go to look for that things. So with this project moving to the one meeting system, is on the right, this is a screen grab from another municipality. You can see it has an HTML version, PDF of agenda. Ours will look a little, pretty much the same, it's just a list view. But after we go live, we're going to have another project which migrates all of our past agendas and minutes. That's going to have an amazing improvement on search capabilities of historical documents, historical agendas and minutes, which if you live in that world is going to be a really a big boon. And for the public too, the public can find things more easily. So next slide. And I forgot to mention, we actually add about 1,500 documents a year, and I'm comfortable saying 90% of them are agendas and minutes. So we're adding documents, quite a lot of documents every year, and that's for the website. But the Novus Agenda piece with your committee and those other 5 committees, it's probably thousands there as well. So the project phases and timelines we were at, as I mentioned, we actually the signing of the contract happened in July of 2023. And then from October, because they were moving so many clients, we ended up going with one meeting, which is the same vendor, Granicus, that our current Novus Agenda is on. So we're still having, they will keep that data up there until they fully migrate us over. But they weren't able to kind of engage with us until last fall because they had so many clients to move over. And during that time from last fall to this past spring, we worked on templatizing as much as we could and build consistency across all the boards and commissions. Then they went off and started configuring those templates in the springtime and the summer. And right now we're in phase 3, the internal training. They're just starting to give us the keys to the back end. And we're going to start doing our training later this month and early next month. Because next month in the middle of January is when we plan to launch the one meeting product. So that's coming up really, really soon. And at that point, starting whatever that launch date is in January, all new agendas and minutes will go on the one meeting system. And then phase 5 is the migration of all the historic documents I mentioned before, which we have between 30 and 40,000 historic documents. And that's going to take about 6 months to a year to push everything into the new system. So for about that time, we're going to be living with a couple of systems, the new system, the old system, and the website. So there's going to be a few things that we're going to have to live with. So it's going to be a little clunky for a year, but we think with the benefits of the search, the new workflow, we're going to get a lot of benefits out of the new system. Next slide. So the training tracks, I just want to give you an overview of where we're at. On the left is what we call the super users, admins. That's the people that change the users, add, remove users, permissions, and all of that. That's myself, that's Marissa, and someone else in IT, and safety. And then we have the power users. Those are the folks that use the existing Novus Agenda. That's in your office, that's Liz Diggins, Select Board's office, ARB, and so forth. And then on the right, we have the liaison users. This is more on the town side. It's about 25 staff that help post those other 80 boards and committees that we talked about. They're going to have to be trained on posting agendas and minutes to the website. The other training we're doing is also enhanced ADA training because we want those documents to be ADA compliant. I will add, I didn't mention earlier, the new system, the one meeting system, has ADA compliance into it that we've been testing and it's looking well. And then at the bottom right is the committee members and volunteers. We've already done 4 trainings and we've trained 34 volunteers that are on those 80 boards and committees that we talked about, because what we're trying to do is build institutional knowledge and educate people that create content for the public, so it's not on just one person or the 25 liaison users, to make sure the content they receive is ADA compliant. So we're kind of doing that liaison training for ADA compliance and the board and committee member training for ADA compliance now, and then we'll be doing the end of the month training for how to post to these systems for the liaison users and the power users like Liz Diggins and folks over at the Select Board's office. So the next slide, I think, is just a little bit of what your new agendas and minutes are going to look like. I'm not going to go through everything. We're going to highlight a couple of usability features I think you guys will really love. First one is, Liz is going to love this, is we're adding a link to requesting accommodation, so that's nice at the top there. When Liz goes to create this agenda, a lot of this is pre-populated, like the location, the details for remote participation, the link to requesting accommodation, the text for public comment, and then you see right here, it's hard to see, but that little red circle is a paperclip icon. If there's an attachment with a particular agenda item, they just the user would just click that, and it just reveals the documents. And if they click the eye icon on that line there, they'll get the full PDF. No more do you have to like open up a cover sheet that may or may not have another link to a document. It's all going to be right there that people can kind of flip on and flip off. And then similarly, when you go over to the meeting minutes, the meeting minutes are now kind of pre-populated with the agenda items where the administrator can add notes. And on the far right, you can see here this gray box. That's the vote box. And now it's going to be, the administrator is going to be able to kind of plug in if something was approved, if something was voted on, and if it was approved, if it failed, what the vote was, who was the mover, who was the seconder, who voted yes, who voted no, who might have been not at the meeting. So all these kind of built-in automations are going to hopefully give some efficiency and some clarification to the public, so they go from board to committee. They can find the same things in the same places, and if they're looking for a particular vote, they can easily scan down a minute and kind of see how votes went. It kind of calls that information out more easily. So that's kind of what I wanted to highlight today. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, Mr. Schlickman?
Okay, I watched your presentation, as you know, to the select board.
Yeah.
And we've done a little bit of interacting over the course of that time. The one question I have is that as chair of the policies committee, we often present policies with cross-outs for things we're deleting, or bold, or in color for things that we're adding or changing within the text of a policy change. Now, my understanding from talking to you is that some of that might run afoul of disability requirements. How do we get around that?
So, I mean, I would like to kind of look at that more. We can talk offline about that, but in general, if you use the tools that Microsoft Word has or Google Docs has, if you kind of use the tools in there, accessibility is built into it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a matter of using the tools and not kind of making, for example, I'll just use, because I know the list view, if you use a list view of bullets that they have in the kind of the upper where they say the styles, but a lot of times people might write 1 period, space, and start typing. Mm-hmm. That's where you run afoul. So I think if you use the tools, you're okay. But I would recommend that you send me a document and we can kind of take a look at it and see if there's further remediation that might have to take place.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Any other questions?
Anyway, so my question is, so how, right now, the way we produce minutes is Ms. Diggins takes, listens to them and does the minutes. Does this have the capability to create minutes through AI?
So, yes and no. So it doesn't have like an AI component to it.
Yeah,
People are free to use AI to kind of help them summarize stuff, but someone who is at the meeting to kind of, obviously they have to be reviewed and approved,
Yeah, right.
So they have to be correct. So someone in the process, but right now it doesn't have an AI component to it. It might. The nice thing I didn't mention about this program is it's actually very scalable, and it's one of the things that was attractive as well.
okay.
Kirsty.
Oh, Kersey, I'm sorry, go ahead, Kersey.
Okay, thank you. I just want to note that right now, normally we only record who votes. I mean, how someone in particular votes, if we do roll call votes, or if we're, like now where we're on Zoom, we have to do roll call votes. So I'm just noting that that's a change of practice, and I don't want us to get in trouble if we haven't made a formal change that is the practice we want to follow going forward. I don't want us to then get in trouble because maybe we didn't record it at some other time. In a regular meeting
Yeah.
where everyone is in place, so when I'm not on Zoom, we don't record who votes which way. We record the outcome, who votes for, how many votes for, how many votes against, and how many abstentions. But we don't record, I voted yes, Jeffrey voted no,
Okay.
et cetera. So I'm just pointing out that that's a change in practice for us.
Okay. If it's something we have to kind of modify in the system, let me know.
Anyone
It
else?
would, I think those lines would just be blank. There would be no names under ayes and no names under nays. We can work it out.
Yeah, if that's something you need to have, someone needs to instruct me so I can talk with the vendor, make sure that gets configured the way you want, that option. Or at least ask the question if it can be. Which I can do if you'd like me to just go ahead and just ask.
Sure, go ahead and ask.
Okay. I'll
But
let you
Len's
know.
confident we can work it out, so
Yes.
we can work it out. All right, thank you. Joan, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Nice to see you, and thank you so much for your time.
All right, you bet. Take care. Next, we have the school quality plans from the elementary school. So first of all, thanks so much to everyone for coming, all the work you put into preparing for these, and arranging your schedule so you could be here tonight. I know you have many other obligations at home and a school day to prepare for tomorrow. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Holman. The ACMi has reminded me that when you speak, you've got to get as close to the mic as possible. So you got to pass that thing all around. You know that. Many of the veterans know that. All right, Dr. Holman.
I can't even pull mine closer to me. Okay. This is the first time that we have done quality plans this way, where we've combined them into individual presentations. We intended to do elementary plans at a prior meeting, and we had some things come up that we wanted to make sure we made enough time for, and so we're doing everybody in one night. And I have to say, this is quite a cool audience to look out at and see all of you in one room here at a school committee meeting. I am a little bit, and I'm going to take the opportunity to say this, I'm a little bit biased, but I am fairly certain we have the best school administrators in the state right here in Arlington. I am a firm believer in a lot of research that states that the number one thing that impacts a student's success in their learning is the teacher that they have in the classroom. And I know from my experience that one of the biggest things that impacts that is the strength of the leadership in the building. And so for us to have the incredible team of leaders that we have here tonight is a real treat, and I'm very excited for them to share what they have planned for the year. I did send out a tool to all of you. It's also loaded in the materials for tonight that provides all of the goals for the plans in one place so that you can sort of see it all in one sheet, and also provides a couple of initiatives that are unique to the school. There's a lot of alignment and coherence, I think, in the plans that we have today. The elementary team meets weekly as an elementary team. The secondary team meets weekly as a secondary team. All of them meet here in the same site so that if we need to come together as a full team, we can. And that is to make sure that we are coherent in our plans and that we are consistent as possible in our implementation. And so there's a lot of consistency, and it didn't feel right to just keep repeating some of the same goals in the presentations each year. And there are uniquenesses. Each school has some latitude to move where they need to and to respond to the school population that they serve. Each school has unique programs that are specific to their school or differences in the school population that require them to shift or adjust what the whole district is doing to meet the needs at their local site. So we wanted to highlight both things, and that's the goal in developing the presentations, was that they show what they are working on together and also show what make their schools shine. So with that, I will hand it off to whomever is starting, and they will tell me when to switch the slide, and I think they've got just about everybody trying to present, so it might take more time to switch speaker than anything else, but we've got a plan.
Okay. Well, good evening, Chairman Thielman, Dr. Holman, Dr. Ford Walker, and members of the school committee. My name is Karen Donato, and I'm the principal of Thompson Elementary, and my colleague, Stephanie Meyer, the interim principal of Pierce. We have the pleasure of kicking things off tonight. My elementary principal colleagues and I are thankful for the opportunity this evening to share our successes, our opportunities for growth, and some amazing examples of the work we are doing and will continue to do for the students of Arlington Public Schools. Next one, thank you. And there's our agenda for this evening. As Dr. Holman referred to, you will notice that there is a lot of consistency in our plans, and the way that we've organized it tonight, we are also trying to highlight some of the things that are happening in our individual schools that are likely also happening at other schools, but things that we've chosen to speak to. You'll see that each of us is going to be speaking about things that are happening at our school, but just know that that is something that if it's happening at one school, it is likely happening almost at all the other schools as well, with some individuality to meet the needs of our school communities. Next slide, yeah.
So we want to ensure that all learners, including all adults in the schools, feel a sense of belonging and experience growth and joy. We also strive to value the identities of all educators and students. While we won't read through each of these, we wanted to highlight that our school quality plans are related to goals 1, 2, and 4 of the strategic plan. These encompass ensuring growth and academic success for all learners, including APS focal groups, fostering a culture of learning, and strengthening ongoing communication with families and partnerships with stakeholders in our schools and towns.
As we begin our presentation, we wanted to share a little snapshot of the enrollment data. As you'll see, most schools remain close to their enrollment from the previous year. Of note, though, is that Hardy and Bishop had enrollment increases, and Thompson's remained steady and close to what we ended at last year, highlighting that the plan to send the Thompson, Hardy, Bishop buffer students to the other schools had an impact as desired. At this time, I would like to take a moment to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Good evening, Thad Dingman, principal at Down Elementary School.
Hello, I'm Gretchen Weiss. I'm the principal at the Bracket.
Good evening, Amy Kelly, principal at Stratton.
Hello, Eva Liner, principal at the Bishop School.
Hello, Gretchen Saunders, principal at the Hardy School.
Stephanie? All right.
So before we talk about our benchmark and statewide assessment data, we thought you may want to hear some additional information about the student experience. This data reminds us that our work is much more than accountability percentiles. and highlights many parts of the day that students name as their favorite times or most memorable elementary moments. You may note that in addition to the field trips and breakfasts, the projects and enrichment, in addition to the 1,000, and this may be a very conservative number, of water bottles donated at the end of the year, we did learn 6, 7 new
First, we'll take a look at our 2025 ELA MCAS outcomes. Overall, achievement remains strong. 66% of our students are meeting or exceeding grade level standards with a yearly median growth percentile of 57%. This is especially impressive compared against our state average, where only about 40% of students in grades 3 through 5 are meeting expectations on their MCAS assessment. Our high needs subgroup is also showing promising growth with trend lines that are beginning to align with state level outcomes. Even more encouraging, this was our first full year of implementing a new ELA curriculum at the elementary school, EL education, and instead of the typical dip that often comes with major changes like that, we actually saw an upwards trend in our scores. So we're optimistic that this same upwards trend will continue in year-over-year progress for our students with IEPs, where we know continued alignment and support will help us continue to move in the right direction.
The district's early commitment to excellent reading instruction based on the science of reading is apparent in our outcomes of the DIBELS literacy benchmarks. Our students continue to demonstrate growth with a large percentage of students above benchmark. These are critical skills which will lead to higher levels of comprehension when taught in conjunction with our EL curriculum.
In mathematics, our students continue to demonstrate high achievement, 65% meeting or exceeding as compared to the state average of 42%. However, despite our efforts in mathematics, outcomes remain static. So later in this presentation, we'll talk a bit more about how we are taking a closer look at grade level curriculum assessments to better understand the impact of our curriculum and instruction.
Our elementary science data is really impressive, showing an increase across all focal groups as well. Our attendance and panorama data demonstrate that generally students feel a sense of belonging, they feel safe, are coming to school, and are experiencing rigorous expectations in the classroom.
All right, so based on all of this data and collaboration with stakeholders, the elementary principals came together in late summer, early fall to discuss our goals for the year. We felt that having similar goals, as was stated, would make sense given that our data, generally speaking, is similar and that we are experiencing similar challenges in all of our schools. We decided that we'd continue 2 of the goals that most of us had last year, first being around the rollout of our ELA curriculum, EL education. Specifically, we wanted to continue our focus on the high leverage practices, including academic discourse. This has absolutely become a mainstay in most of our schools as we see great benefits in having students discuss their thinking with each other. And the benefits include students developing higher order thinking skills, deepening content understanding, and improving their communication abilities. Also creates a more collaborative and inclusive classroom setting. Additionally, helping students learn to take ownership over their own learning and prepare for writing and advocate for themselves. So that was one goal. Another goal was also that we felt like continuing the goal around student and family engagement was also critical to enhance that sense of belonging and community within all of our schools. The new goal this year is a focus on math, as my colleague mentioned. In examining our school's data, we noticed trends and plateaus that was concerning to the group. In collaboration with our math director and our math head coach, we crafted a goal that helps the team begin to address some of the issues that we've noticed. Additionally, literacy has been the main focus of ours in the elementary school for the past few years, so we did not want to neglect math. Next slide, thank you. So our math goals centered around collection and analysis of important assessment data across grade levels. So our goal is that by June, all students, especially our focal groups, will demonstrate measurable growth in mathematics. And in order to make this happen, as you can see on this slide, each of our schools have initiatives that will help us meet the goals. Our building thinking classrooms, we have many professional learning opportunities for this that we'll speak about later. We are, as I said, compiling and analyzing our investigations, which is our math curriculum assessment and fluency data. During our ACE meetings, which are grade level meetings, we are focusing on PDSA cycles. We have alignments.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
PDSA means?
Don't steal my thunder here, Paul.
I know, we're getting there.
You can't put initials on there without just defining it.
It's Land Use Study Act.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we have a slide, yeah, that explains that. Our tiered math intervention in WIN, What I Need block, math lab classrooms, and expanding our family education around mathematics. So at Bishop specifically, but like other schools do, I wanted to highlight the work that we've done to expand our math mornings. So specifically our family education around mathematics. So we have expanded from having caregivers come in to learn about math at Bishop from first grade parents to first through third grade this year. And we invite them in to learn more about our math curriculum and play a math game with their child in the classroom. Our curriculum coaches lead a really important informational session explaining the ways that math is taught in that particular grade level. Our curriculum promotes critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and deep conceptual understanding over rote memorization, and is also focused on the use of play-based math, which, quite honestly, is very different than many of us learned math. So having parents learn more about that is really important. So the coaches help to give the caregivers ways to engage their children with the grade level math and experience how they are actually learning it. And they have fun playing games with their child in the classroom. So secondly, also teachers have been gaining knowledge through PD sessions on building thinking classrooms. And this is a pedagogical approach that shifts the focus from teacher-led instruction to student-led problem solving. It involves practices like random groups, vertical writing surfaces, which you can see in the picture, and specific questioning techniques to encourage deeper student thinking, collaboration, and engagement. The goal is to create an environment where students actively think and contribute rather than passively receiving information. So some of our teachers actually started using these techniques last year and found it to be extremely engaging and allowing for that deeper conceptual understanding, and really had a great impact on their student collaboration. So we look forward to continuing to building more thinking classrooms at Bishop.
Okay. At Pierce, along with the other elementary schools, we hold weekly ACE meetings with each grade level team, along with interventionists, specialists, coaches, curriculum directors at times, and administrators. We review student data and make informed instructional adjustments. During these meetings, staff analyze specific assessment questions, identified patterns and misconceptions, and examine how students approach tasks to pinpoint areas of difficulty and opportunities for extension. From this analysis, the teams plan targeted interventions, reteaching strategies, one-to-one or small group support, as well as appropriate enrichment. Student progress is then monitored through follow-up assessments and ongoing team discussions. As you can see from my pictures here, as well as Ms. Eva had, we have some vertical whiteboards there that were used in a 5th grade classroom when they were solving fractions. Down below that is a kindergarten class where they were working on a measuring unit where they had longer than or shorter than. And then over to the other side is a 4th grade classroom where that is one slide that introduces the math lesson for the day.
At Stratton, like at many of the other schools, we're continuing to refine our WIN, What I Need block, to ensure targeted support and meaningful challenge for every student. All grades now hold Math WIN at least 4 times per week, creating consistent time for both intervention and extension. During WIN, students may receive reteaching of missed content from the math block, practice foundational or lagging skills, or engage in enrichment tasks that extend their learning. Flexible grouping allows students to switch teachers based on their needs, and this structure mirrors what we've developed in our all and skills block, which is a teacher table, partner work, and independent work, as you can see on the slide. And this supports alignment or promotes alignment across the day. As we continue to strengthen our WIN practices, we remain focused on using data, responsive instruction, and collaboration to help every student grow. This slide covers ELA initiatives across the 7 elementary schools. This year, we'll continue to deepen the quality of our ELA instruction by focusing on high-leverage practices that support student thinking, discussion, and ownership. Teachers will use strategies from the EL education to engage all students in grade-level tasks, strengthening their comprehension, writing, problem-solving, and ability to participate in meaningful academic conversations. We'll measure progress not just through assessments, but also through instructional rounds, peer observations, and student voice, ensuring every learner experiences a classroom where their ideas are valued and where discourse drives learning. Our key initiatives include continuing to implement EL education's high-impact practices across all grades, expanding peer observation cycles by hosting 3 instructional rounds with our ILT and coaches. We will use weekly ACE time to collaboratively analyze student work and refine instructional moves. We'll improve rigor in student talk and writing by explicitly teaching sentence stems, conversation norms, and academic vocabulary as part of the read, think, talk, write cycle. We will provide ongoing coaching and feedback during team meetings to help align planning, scaffolding, and differentiation to meet all learners' needs. This work reflects our commitment to create discourse-rich, inclusive classrooms where students see themselves as capable thinkers and communicators. Here are some examples of key action steps taking place at Hardy and many of the other elementary schools. Hardy is using EL Learning Walk indicators with educators to assess our current levels of student engagement and on-task discussions, including how students build upon one another's ideas and use academic vocabulary. Together, we are planning intentional ways for students to strengthen their academic discourse skills and increase opportunities for meaningful engagement and discussion. We are using our ACE Block professional learning time and peer observations to deepen our collective understanding and implementation of effective strategies for promoting academic discourse.
Before you go on, you see that little boy in the corner? He's like, I have something to say. I love that picture. Because it is, but that is what we see now in our classrooms, that students are really like finding their voice to be able to communicate with them.
And he did that several times. I was like, okay, do it again.
At Dallin and at elementary schools across our district, our teacher teams are focused on improving student discourse and written expression. At Dallin specifically, we're doing this through a Plan, Do, Study, Act inquiry cycle. These began last year as part of our work with the instructional leadership team. Each week during our common planning, that's the ACE time referred to earlier, teams review short-term goals and design small actionable changes. So these are crafted during the plan phase. These changes are directly applied in classrooms and become part of day-to-day instruction. Now, during the do phase, teachers begin to implement. Some examples right now at Dallin include kindergarten. Our kindergarten team is using sentence stems and visual supports to grow students' ability to exchange ideas during math conversations. Kindergartners are great at sharing ideas. Exchanging takes a little bit of effort. In grade 2, teachers are building a shared bank of discussion protocols to share with specialist teachers so that the student experience is consistent across settings. So it's a new level of collaboration that has come out of some of their work in their grade level teams. Our grade 5 team is designing peer revision checklists to promote kind-specific feedback and strengthen written expression that can be replicated from module to module. Modules are the fancy word for units in EL education. Next, the teachers enter into their study phase. So as their practices are implemented, they're looking at student work together, observing instruction through video or maybe peer visits, and studying the EL education materials to deepen alignment and intentionality. And increasingly, this work is now expanding into math instruction as well. And the cycle ends by designing new actions from all the learning that's taken place. Instructional coaches support each team through every phase, facilitating planning, modeling strategies in lab classrooms and professional learning, and helping us stay focused on what matters most. That's evidence of student learning. So whether it's a content area benchmark or a writing sample from last week, student work is at the center of the learning that the educators are doing. The PDSA structure, Dallin, is allowing teams to move from reflection into really quick, immediate action, continuously improving instruction in ways that are timely, and it's a great complement to the school-wide learning walks that are happening across our schools each trimester.
This next slide, in the goal area of community engagement, highlights some of the things that are happening across our schools, including new ways of communication, resources for families, student leadership opportunities, school-wide expectations, educator-led committees, empathy interviews, all-school assemblies, and community partnerships and learning events. And we are going to be strengthening belonging for all of our students and families by fostering a school community where every individual is understood as a person, supported by adults, respected by peers, and experiences a genuine sense of belonging. Through intentional opportunities for student voice and leadership, authentic partnerships with families, and inclusive practices that honor identity, empathy, and connection, we will ensure that all community members, particularly those from our focal groups, feel valued, seen, and empowered to thrive. Progress will be monitored through our Panorama survey data, some student feedback, and family engagement measures.
At Brackett, we've spent 2 years building community expectations with faculty, students, and families, and are implementing these in common spaces this year. Our intentional and interactive process is key to promoting ownership and shared responsibility throughout the school. Whether in the social, emotional, or academic realm, these expectations provide a structure that allows our students to focus by making their experience in school coherent and safe for learning. Over the past year, we and the other elementary schools have supported these initiatives through school-wide celebrations and new resources for teachers. Specifically at Brackett, in conjunction with the Beautiful Stuff Project, students, families, alumni, and faculty created a vibrant community mosaic that now adorns the front stairwell. Monthly, we celebrate high-quality work at our all-school assemblies, such as our most recent poetry project with Arlington Eats. Brackett students at all grade levels are participating in lessons on growth mindset, emotional management, empathy, and problem solving through the digital Second Step curriculum acquired through a partnership with the Department of Social Emotional Learning and School Counseling. As we look into year 4, my time here, these expectations will become more prevalent within classrooms and student daily experiences, further strengthening the conditions for deeper learning for all students.
And at Thompson and other schools across the district, we are partnering with the Communications and Family Engagement Department to pilot the Parent Square Communication Platform. We're also a satellite location for Spy Ponders Threads, where our families, students, and staff can access essential items they need to thrive with the goal of working towards a more sustainable Arlington. And this has been made possible with the support of an AEF grant. And our shift to a student-led open house in the fall has allowed more caregivers and extended family members to experience a visit to the school with their students with removing the barrier of childcare, and allows students to translate for their family members in their home language, and empowers our students to take pride and ownership in their learning and at our schools.
The elementary principals deeply value and appreciate the strength of our current staffing model. The school committee's support of salaries and positions and your dedication to our focal groups has made a world of difference for all of our students. At Stratton, we have the largest elementary substantially sub-separate program, and because of your support, we've been able to attract and hire highly qualified and specialized staff and are improving our SLC programming. Ensuring that all of our special education programs are fully and appropriately resourced so that students can receive high-quality, individualized services in their home district reduces the need for costly and disruptive out-of-district placements. Additionally, your recent support of many roles in all of our elementary schools plays an essential part in ensuring that our schools remain safe, inclusive, and focused on high-quality teaching and learning. Our assistant principals, many of whom are here today, we're going to ask them to stand.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Please. Thank you.
Help us to create safe, inclusive, and well-organized school environments where every student can thrive. Our instructional coaches, many of whom are also here tonight, please stand, thank you, provide ongoing high-impact support in math and ELA, elevating instruction for all teachers and students. Our school and program social workers deliver vital services across all tiers of support, promoting students' social emotional well-being and access to learning, as well as support for our families. Tiered support systems, including math and reading interventionists, ensure access, equity, and meaningful pathways for all of our learners. Our professionally licensed librarians deliver essential early literacy and research skills, filling critical gaps and strengthening foundational reading development. And finally, our paraprofessionals extend instruction, help us to maintain daily school operations, and provide responsive, caring support during recess and other unstructured times, often when students need it the most.
Before we begin Q&A, we want to thank our students. They're the center and heart of everything we do. And to our teachers and our staff, they're probably all watching this, I'm sure. But this is recorded, right? Thank you for your leadership, your collaboration, and your deep commitment to every learner. The growth that we're seeing across classrooms is a direct reflection of the skill of our educators and their willingness to keep growing together. And last, to our families. Thank you for your continued partnership and support. Our families' engagement, feedback, and trust are helping make a stronger community for all of us. So I think we're ready for Q&A.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation, and thanks. You clearly put a lot of work into coordinating all this, so we appreciate it. And Dr. Holman always tells us that she has an excellent team at the elementary level at all levels, and a team that works together nicely, so that was obviously on display. So thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to questions. Questions? Mr. Carden?
Sure. Thank you all for being here, for all your hard work over the year. I do want to recognize Dallin for being a school of recognition. Congratulations. And question for you, Mr. Dingman. In particular, you had large jumps in your scale scores for high needs and students with disabilities in both ELA and math. So it probably wasn't just the curriculum. But is there anything that you can point to sort of as lessons learned for the other schools that maybe interested in sharing? I'm sure you've already shared it, but to share for us.
Sure. I mean, two things, and yeah, I think these are systems that we all have mostly in place. I think the quality of the weekly planning times and making sure that our special educators and related service providers are at those meetings more. I think that was something that we took for granted in the first years of having those weekly planning blocks. We didn't always have the right seats at the table. So when this new curriculum rolled in, that was a priority for us. I think I thought about this, one other smallish but impactful change that we've made in the past 2 years is we've organized a progress monitoring team. So in particular, we have a group of reading interventionists, special educators, sometimes social workers, literacy coaches, and every 6 weeks we're progress monitoring everyone who's receiving tiered intervention. Or students that had received tiered intervention and then may have been making great progress, and so they're not receiving that level of care anymore, but we're following their progress. Having those names continuously come up, and then we're talking about what actually the intervention is and looks like, I do think that team played a very important part of why we saw great gains in literacy. Mathematics saw the biggest gains for us, and I think part of the recognition came from the growth that our students on IEPs demonstrated. I think that's, again, when I think back to last year, how much closer the relationship and collaboration was between special education and the classroom teacher. We talked a lot about making sure that any supports, any services that were happening outside the classroom, that the point was for these students to access their general education curriculum. And this is something I know we all do. More and more, we've made it a priority to protect the instructional time that all of our students have in the classroom. And so with EL, it is, our students have 60 minutes of literacy. It is uninterrupted. The supports push into those classroom spaces so that all the students are receiving the same instruction. And into mathematics, too. It's a priority. Our kids don't miss access to their core instruction. So, cohorts are cohorts. I think we have a great cohort of kids. I think we have families that have our backs too. So it's a combination. That's all part of the recipe.
Great. Congratulations and thank you.
Mr. Schlickman?
This is an impressive presentation because you're not able to do this unless there is meaningful collaboration among this group on a day-to-day basis. And that's pretty obvious. The presentation and the documentation we're getting from you at this point indicates there's been a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of cross-pollination. So if something excellent is happening at one school, it can spread to another. And it's obvious you've got a great functioning team among yourselves. And I assume that the superintendent, through modeling this practice, is able to influence what's happening in the schools. So I guess my basic question is one of resources. We're in difficult times, and it sounds like a lot of the little things that are happening, like common planning time, coaching, all the supports that are making this happen, are things that don't necessarily look like an expenditure for classroom teachers, but they're essential to the functioning of this kind of continuous improvement. Would anyone like to take a shot at making a case for, at the very least, maintaining a level services budget next year?
Yes. Well, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of what we talk about in design is how we use time.
Mm-hmm.
So the ripple are the people that you need to support creating that time.
Mm-hmm.
Common planning time happens on the backs of excellent specialist teachers who've taken on more responsibilities in classes over the past few years. So that we have they are each teaching additional kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, to make sure that that time happens for classroom teachers. And it's important, and this is something that we've talked about and tried to develop, that they have time as well with each other, because there is actually important instructional priorities and collaboration, cohesiveness that can happen between an art teacher and music teacher and the librarian and all the same. So from a paraprofessional who creates space and time for teachers to connect, to the specialists, to our assistant principals that are have their hands in everything so that we can be available for different priorities as they emerge. It's all about how we support each other and creating time to collaborate. So we have a good thing that we're building.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so proud to be a part of Arlington is the combination of leadership that happens within our schools, where our assistant principals, our social workers, our coaches, and work alongside us to really think about every single child and how they're going to learn and grow. And I think that that's really special. And so one of the reasons that I really appreciate working here.
And I think, too, some of the things that Amy had highlighted that have been additions over the years, they're all now working together, right? We added this, we had to learn how to be more cohesive in the way that we were approaching teaching, learning, social emotional needs of our students. And without each of those roles, we wouldn't be seeing the progress that we're making. So it's no longer are we adding these pieces that have to learn to work together. We actually are now all working together, and we're seeing progress in many different ways across all of our schools.
Maybe to bring it home, it's a fragile system. It's a system that has been created and is highly functioning currently after quite a few years of growth. And it is fragile because any component that's lost will have an impact in areas. And so it is important that level service, that we can continue doing what we're doing so that we can provide the best opportunities for our students, which is ultimately what we're all here for.
Sorry. I think it was Ms. Leiner who talked about the math. You were expanding the math mornings at Bishop, and I know that I had the opportunity to go to one of those at Pierce last year in second grade, and I think particularly now, as math is, we've made this transition on literacy and math. There's the working group for the middle school and high school, but I'm really glad to see that you all are really thinking creatively about math at the elementary level. I know you mentioned it because you were giving that presentation, but I'm hoping that those math mornings are happening across the district. I hope that I get to go to another one this year. But also wondering if you've thought about how to, we also had at some point at Pierce a morning when we were starting the EL curriculum where we had some real hands-on opportunities for parents to learn about some of the vocabulary and all of the things around the discourse that's sort of been such a shift for our kids. And I'm wondering if there might be more of that. Also, I know all of this takes time and planning, and it's not free in terms of time in the day. But I think having parents have the opportunity to see, especially when so many of us learned so very differently than our kids are learning today, I imagine that sort of builds on itself. And so I don't really know what my question is, but to say that I'm encouraging that continuation and that kind of creativity, which is also, as per Mr. Schlickman's point, all things that are part of that fragile system.
I think one thing that we've been trying is before families come to see celebrations of the things that kids are doing in classrooms, our literacy coach will meet with the families beforehand, give them questions to ask, guide them about those things. And so they get small moments of like, this is what's going to happen next. Oh, and then if you're also a frog expert, we would really like to talk with you.
I'm learning a lot about frogs this year.
So I think we are trying to find those moments in literacy as well.
So my question is, over the past several years, we've built up a couple of slots or positions in the elementary schools, assistant principals, and then I think instructional coaches we've added over there's other things, but I'm just kind of focusing on those. Could you just speak to the impact of the assistant principals and the instructional coaches on on learning in the building and all aspects of culture in the building? So I don't know, anybody who wants to talk to it. You can pick one or the other, I don't know.
Well, I'll start. I know my colleagues will have things to share as well. I would say that in my time here, I was an assistant principal and then became a principal. And I think the big shift that I was able to do from my role from assistant principal to principal was to be an instructional leader, because I had an assistant principal who could handle more of the day-to-day operations, coverage of staff, running our lunch and recess times, running some of our SST meetings and other things, so that I could be more focused on the instructional practices in our building and helping to move some of our larger goals forward. Our instructional coaches are really instrumental in collaboration to that end. They're our experts, and our staff turn to them and look to them for that guidance and support, and with resources, with teaching practices, with PD sessions. It's incredible how much they do, even just as, single people. So those are, a couple of the things that it's allowed me as a principal to be able to have some freedom in there to do things as an instructional leader, to have those supports in place. But that's just one little piece.
Yeah, Sam Karustis is my right arm, and I'm right-handed. So we have a staff of, upwards of 70 educators. And I think when I think about what Sam is able to do, is she is able to support our school in giving attention and accountability to all of the adults. And so, one of our primary responsibilities is to give timely feedback and evaluate our entire staff, and we have big staff. So I know at Dallin, Sam taking on part of that responsibility, giving the attention and time to develop our paraprofessional team, working directly with some of the related service staff, allows me the opportunity to be deeply paying attention to instruction in ways that I was definitely not able to without her. And I'm sure that is the same. So let's say just from a high level, I think it's healthy to have a system that's caring and accountable at the same time, and that's exactly what our assistant principals allow us to do with the range of teacher teams that we work with. It's critical. And when we're busy and doing our nerdy educational stuff, they're the front line for our students who actually need a caring, loving adult in unpredictable times, and that's another part of what our assistant principals do.
I'll just add one more thing. I think that being an elementary principal, even though we are an incredibly tight group, can be very isolating, and having a thought partner Adam pushes me every day, my thinking, and can look at things through a different lens than I can, and is helping me to grow as an administrator. And that to me is invaluable.
So the bottom line is that by making these investments, we've created a culture of caring and accountability, and we've helped students to improve and learn more and be better prepared for the next level of their education. Right? That's the tagline.
Absolutely.
There you go. All right, just trying out lines. Okay, thank you. Do you want to say?
Well done, team.
Okay.
You all are dynamite. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Next, we have the school quality plans for the secondary, and we are on schedule right now. Okay, we are on schedule. Sorry. So, do we have the?
They're on their way, yeah.
Not that it's safe compared to you guys.
But this is sick, probably. Okay, so there are fewer of them, but not fewer balls being juggled, I don't think, amongst them. The secondary crew will also be presenting, worked on their presentation together as well, and I'm sure will demonstrate the same degree of coherence and preparation as the elementary crowd just did. So I'll hand it to you all, and let me know when you need me to switch the slide.
You go first.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Rochelle Rubino, the proud principal of the Audison Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. Proud principal of Gibbs, and I'm so happy to be here tonight.
And your name is?
Andrew Ramadi.
And I'm Matthew Jenger, and I'm just honored to be here with these two. I'm the high school principal.
So our agenda, we are going to go quickly through the district vision, mission, and goals, as you just heard about those and during the elementary presentation. We are going to talk about secondary enrollment. Then we will switch to middle school outcomes and goals, age S outcomes and goals, and finally a Q&A. You can just flip through this slide. Okay. we wanted to include it in our presentation, but we don't need to talk about all of that. So here you can see our secondary enrollment. It is to your left is the 6 through 8, and then high school is to your right. And our enrollment continues to grow from year to year. These are our outcomes, and we know that you have gone over the outcomes in a previous presentation, but we wanted to highlight them real quick before we get into our individual schools.
Yeah, I just want to briefly point out in terms of our grades 6 through 8 language arts that we have showed steady improvement with respect to achievement and growth, and in comparisons to the Town Manager 12. Well, last year we were first out of 12th in both categories. Yeah, you can go next slide, please.
And you can see the same is true overall for math. We continue to have really strong results in our math. And in our science, you can see 75% of students were meeting or exceeding expectations. And we are really excited about our civics. As you can see, 79% of our students were meeting or exceeding expectations, and we were actually number 6 in the state overall for our civics achievement this year, which is really incredible and a remarkable for all of our teachers and in our school. It's really an honor, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, so I'll get to that.
All right, we'll move through these slides fairly quickly, but one of the things I want to point out with respect to our subgroups in language arts is that our student growth percentiles have been consistently moving up. So while we have room to grow, to continue to grow with respect to achievement, we are showing SGP of 56 with respect to students with IEPs. Same story, but even higher growth for our ML students. And a moderate to high level of growth for our students that are categorized as low income, as well as increasing scores year over year with respect to student achievement.
And the same is mostly true if you look at our math scores. We have seen a lot of strong growth and with our subgroups and our focal groups this year. We do want to acknowledge that there is some room for growth as we look at math for our ML focal group and our low-income students that their SGP is great, but if you look at previous year, it's the 0%. But the SGP is very strong. Go now to the Gibbs overview slide.
Keep going.
Keep going one more.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. I just want to start by saying that the Gibbs is an amazing school. I feel so privileged to have the opportunity to be the principal there, and thank Dr. Homan for the opportunity. We have a wonderful staff and an innovative school culture. We have approximately 485 students that are in 5 learning communities. We have a range of interesting core classes and elective classes that include band and orchestra and world languages, art, tech, computer science, and more. And I'm really impressed with our school counseling team, who work very hard to support every child in each learning community. We have a full range of special educators that do phenomenal work in a range of different positions. And we're a community that works together, and I have just been so impressed in my first few months on the job. Our picture is of Gibbs staff and Ms. Rubino participating in the Arlington Eats 5K about a month ago, raising money and having a good time together on a weekend day. So in terms of our state reporting here, Gibbs last year met 76% of the accountability targets set forth by the state, which put us in the 89th percentile. We've continued to see achievement and student growth that have improved with respect to language arts and math. And we saw a reduction in chronic absenteeism from 8.5 in 2024, reduced down to just under 7%. Our students are indicating that they are overwhelmingly feeling positive at Gibbs. 73% of students in the spring reported that they consistently have positive feelings, and that our students are reporting that they feel well-regulated within the school, which is an exciting thing for middle schoolers to report. Mm-hmm. I want to point out a couple other just kind of celebratory things for the school and things that I found particularly interesting. First is that we went to Nature's Classroom, and for those that have not had an opportunity to go, it is amazing. It is a really wonderful thing to have an opportunity to do with over 400 students. This year we had a record high of 84% of our students attend Nature's Classroom. I was fortunate enough to attend 2 different days, as was our assistant principal, John Amaral, and assistant principal and special education coordinator, Jen Lamberts, along with many, many staff members who worked hard to make sure that our kids had a really wonderful and interesting experiential learning opportunity. And I could not speak more highly of it. I could go on and on, but I won't. However, I feel very fortunate that we had that chance this year, and we'll be looking forward to it next year. We've worked really hard to be intentional about how we're using technology and trying to be really specific and intentional about how we're working with our Chromebooks and working with different devices to make sure that we are focusing on what matters most, which are the standards of each particular grade level. I've been impressed with our teaching staff, with our IT department and digital learning, working hand in hand to make sure that our students have strong access through all their curriculum, but also that we're focusing on what matters most. I've been very impressed with our staff and leading all committees. So our staff were really excited to do kind of all of our different committee work. And we were fortunate in that our staff all got their #1 choice for which committee they were going to be on this year, which I think has in turn led to some really interesting committee work that is being led by our staff that I am present at and participating in, but not necessarily leading myself. And that feels really wonderful and exciting to be a part of. Another thing I want to celebrate is the cohesive planning that we've done already, both with the elementary staff that you got to hear from earlier tonight, and that who I miss working with, but have got to meet with many times. And we have also planned cohesively with the Audison and with Dr. Janger as well. So we're excited to move forward this year in thinking about transitions both into the Gibbs and into the Audison, so that our students have a predictable and wonderful experience as they move through each school. All right, and we have some areas to continue to work on as a school. So we need to build a more cohesive schedule for next school year. We've already begun that work. We already have a committee of educators in the building. We have worked through several iterations and kind of mocked out what would happen in different scenarios and creating a school schedule. Our goals are we want to make sure that all of our students have access to a full range of electives, including band and orchestra, but also that they have the ability to get all the student services they need to be successful in school. This has been hard, admittedly, to do this year for a number of reasons. We have done the best that we can to give every student the courses they desire, but there's work to do for next year. We need to increase the number of lunches. We'll just do that. We have too many students at each lunch right now. We are considering multiple options with respect to our WIN block right now. Most students have a WIN block daily, and we're considering options that would keep that might reduce it, or what would happen if that were to be eliminated. And lastly, we are considering more ways that our students can use their devices successfully and integrate their projects through all of their courses, but also keeping in mind that not everything has to run through their device. So those are the areas that we're focusing on right now, and thank you for listening.
All right. I have the pleasure of talking about the wonderful Audison Middle School, and the picture that you see on this page is just some of our amazing teacher leaders at our school. This picture was taken this summer at the August All Leader Workshop, and I'll highlight them a lot throughout my presentation because I really truly believe it is the teacher leaders and the empowerment of them and their work at our school that is helping to create a cohesive, consistent teaching and learning group that has really helped us to get to the results that you see here. So 89% of our students were meeting or exceeding targets this year on our state reporting MCAS testing, which is incredible, and that put us in the 97th percentile, accountability percentile. And as I already mentioned, our 8th grade civics students finished 6th place for the state. And I didn't put this up here, but there was a U.S. News and World Reports that named Audison Middle School the 12th best middle school in the state, which is pretty awesome to get that as well. And I think one of their things that they look at actually is teacher to student ratio. So I think that's important to note as well. Again, I've mentioned this, but our growth in subgroups was really, really strong this year. And I think that's what is one of the most remarkable pieces of our overview and our successes, that all of our focal groups did make substantial progress towards targets this year. And as you can see, our high needs were at 51%. Our MLL was at 54%, low income 63%, and students with disabilities at 74%, substantial progress towards the targets that the state sets out that they're looking for every year. Go to the next slide. So with that in mind, we created some goals for this year, some that we are continuing a little bit from last year and building upon for this year, and the first being deeper learning and inclusive classrooms. So part of that, I'm going to go over the goals and then in the next slide talk about some of the action steps. Again, we're focusing on deeper learning and we're looking at some high leverage instructional strategies. Some of them you heard about at the elementary schools when we're taking those EL education, high leverage instructional strategies and applying them to our tier 1 systems and looking at what those multi-tiered systems of support are so that we are providing access to students and looking at what are we providing in the general ed classroom, how are we providing access so that students can get what they need. We are also looking at our school culture and climate, really closely looking at our restorative and collaborative problem-solving approaches to build community and increase well-being. And they really tie in closely with the tiered systems of support, looking through the lens of building that culture. It starts in the classroom along with academics. The social emotional learning is part of it. You can't really take the two pieces apart. They really tie closely together. So I'll talk a little bit in a minute about our pilot of collaborative problem solving. And then our strategic family engagement is looking at how we are continuing to collaborate. Right here, I sit in the middle of the high school and Gibbs, and we want to create a better through line so we have that consistency as the students come from 6th grade and enter into 7th grade, and as they leave and head on to the high school. Go to the next slide. So some action steps that we are doing. Our ILT is working to provide some professional learning during our building meeting time. As I mentioned, we are looking at our high leverage instructional strategies and embedding that with expectations around co-planning and cycles of inquiry. Last year, we had focused on learning targets and checking for understanding, and this year our focus is on student discourse. And our staff and our ILT has already led some work around student discourse, really getting at more than just our students talking in class, but how are they talking? What are they talking about? What is that academic vocabulary that they are using? How are they grappling with different concepts and ideas? Again, the school culture and climate, we had about 25 Audison staff members that participated in the training over the summer with Think Kids, MGH. And we have a committee and some more professional development that we are working on this year with Think Kids to roll out collaborative problem solving. That's thanks in part to an AEF grant that's helping us do that, along with work at the high school and with the Gibbs School, to really prioritize what is collaborative problem solving, how does that impact student learning, how does that impact relationships. And we have a plan and our hopes and some longer term goals to roll that out so that all of our staff at Audison will be able to have that training. And then finally, our transition committees, we've already started some work with our different committees around transition to align better with the Gibbs and with the high school. You'll be hearing, families will be hearing more about all of that stuff that's coming up really soon already, actually, with some planning that we're doing in a few months at the end of in January. You'll hear more about that from me, but that is already starting and we're talking about it all the time. And we are strengthening collaboration between Gibbs and Audison. We have now a shared school council that's helping to create a better cohesiveness so that the 6 through 8 experience is stronger, and our shared PTO is already in place. So I just want to, again, brag about Audison and how wonderful they are. I put the accountability up there again, but I really want to highlight that the MCAS scores, that's just one small piece of the puzzle. We are so much more than our MCAS scores, and you see that in the interactions of our faculty and our students and the sense of belonging in the student clubs and activities that are happening all the time. This year, we have increased academic opportunities for our students by offering more electives and more specials classes that has allowed them to have a sense of agency and give them a sense of choice in some of their learning and take on some new classes that weren't available to them last year. A real popular one is musical theater, so that's a class that students are participating in during the school day. And we also offer sculpture, which is a ceramics type of course, and we have a few that we haven't even yet started yet that I'm really excited about that I put up here for semester 2, which is Unified PE. We're collaborating with the Lab Collaborative that is in our building. We have a math enrichment elective that is going to start for semester 2. In a music production class, which we have a new soundproof music recording studio, again, thanks in partnership to an AEF grant. So we are really excited about everything that will come out of those classes that are happening at Audison this year. We also just started the first chapter of Best Buddies program at Audison. We had our first meeting. It was the best day of the year attending that breakfast, and we have so many more events planned, so I'm really excited about that. I already talked about collaborative problem solving, so I'm not going to mention that bullet again. But I'm also so very proud of our students and our student leaders. I know that they already some of them came to visit you because they went and put into action what they are learning about through their experiences, but I would love to invite any of you to come see one of the student council meetings. I was joking, they run a tight ship. It is all student-led. They are on task, ready to go. And we have some really fun events that they are planning, including some pep rallies. This is all organized by students, led by some wonderful teachers as well, supported by teachers, because you can't do it without the teachers. And we, our peer leaders and our student council, are also partnering with No Place for Hate this year, and we're rolling out some initiatives to continue our work around interrupting hate speech, and to be a community where we really are practicing everything that we say, and trying to learn and do better, because when we know better, our goal is to do better. And I think that was it. Is that my last slide? That's my last slide, right? Yep. I just wanted to also thank our wonderful school council that's helped guide our planning over this year, and I also just wanted to thank our APs who are here today as well. So thank you for being here. If you want to stand up as well. Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to high school.
Wow. So as always, I stand on the shoulders of giants, right? We get 9 years of this, and then I claim credit for it when the students do a really wonderful job. I'm going to hopefully be short-winded, which you're not used to with me, but I'm going to go for it. You've heard already a lot about sort of our MCAS scores in the past. We're going to be coming back in 2 weeks to talk about the program of studies and innovations pathways. And one of the things I realize is the story is pretty simple in terms of our data this year, which is very nice, although it's the result of a lot of complicated and interlocking things. So there's one slide that starts the section, this one, and then I'm going to go very quickly through the data section and then talk about just about the 3 goals. So the nice news is that on almost really on every indicator, the trends over the last 4 years have been steadily upward or strong. They are at this point better than pre-COVID, which for many of us is sort of the last place where there was sort of a dip. And they're just generally overwhelmingly positive. So MCAS scores in ELA, math, and science have been steady and are trending slightly upward. Students with IEPs have made EL gains where they're closing gaps with the state average. And all around, we're seeing improvements in subgroups. Nonetheless, we still have those gaps, and there's still significant areas that we need to focus on. Within course grades, which is our major and primary measure of student progress, we're seeing steady increases. So A and B grades have increased where 87% of students 4 years ago were getting all A's and B's. We're now up to 91%. And these are norm grades. These are not a result of grade inflation. B's and A's are what we're expecting. B at the high school is meet standards within our philosophy of grading. So for students to get all B's and A's means that they're meeting our expectations in all of their classes. And students with any F has declined from being 8% of all students to 5%. So what you see is that the proportion of students who are meeting all of our standards has grown, and the proportion of students who are really struggling has decreased. And at the same time, we have this question about how are we doing in terms of overall rigor. You'll see in terms of our surveys of students, their perceptions of rigor are increasing, but also if you look at participation in higher level coursework across the board, that's significantly increased. So if you look at AP participation over the last 4 years, we've gone from 438 students, which at the time was 27% of our entire student body, to 741 students, which is 43% of our entire student body. And when you realize that only juniors and seniors, for the most part, are taking those APs, this means that roughly 85% of our students are taking at least one AP score class. So one might be worried about what's their level of preparation, but what we're seeing is that 93% of AP exams are coming back as 3 or better, which is meeting standard, which again is a very impressive statistic. Attendance and engagement continues to be strong and is increasing slightly, so it's 95.6%. Daily attendance, which is above pre-pandemic levels, and chronic absenteeism, which is still an issue and which still affects our focal groups, has been reduced to 7.3%. And then the culture and climate gains, those are some of the highlights in the last 4 years, have gone steadily upward with bigger increases among the things that we were most focusing on and most worried about. So now if we're just going to go quickly through those. you can sort of slide through all of the outcome data, which you've all seen before. And I just wanted to slide down to the slide number 33, which is just looking at AP participation over time. And so you go up one. There you go. So you can see that that's been a steady increase as a percentage. I know last time we discussed these numbers as a percentage of the overall class. So it's going well beyond our enrollment growth. And then if you go to the next slide, that gives a more detailed breakdown over each year in terms of the percent of students scoring at high grades, the number of exams. So if you look, you see 741 students is 1,642 exams. So there are more students, higher percentage of students, students taking more APs, and students at a much higher level meeting standard on the APs. And then if you slide on down from there to my all-time favorite slide, which is number 37.
Tell me what the headline is.
It is AHS Outcomes 2025. It's the chart. I'm all about the pictures. So that is tracking our panorama, culture, and climate. So at a glance, you have lots of time to come through this. What you see there is the bottom line is belonging, right, which was very low coming out of COVID and has steadily grown to where 56% of our students are saying extremely or strongly to a sense of belonging in the school. And the vast majority of the rest are in the middle, which is somewhat. And so the number of students who feel like they don't belong and the number of students who feel like they really do has gone way up. And there's been a ton of effort put into that. There's the Voices United workshops, the inclusion workshops, the wellness workshops, the rollout and continuing work with CPS, the opening of the cafe, the fabulous new building. And one of the things that's really nice is that the building really, the vision of the building to support an inclusive environment has really been realized. Kids are filling all those spaces and they're using them in the ways we hoped that they were going to use them. And that's enabling more programming, which allows this to happen. As the students just reported, today we had salsa dancing, alpacas, therapy dogs, board games, and a concert going on all around the building. We'll be doing that 2 more times this month. And then you can see at the top that the other elements remain high and go up. Now, it is worth noticing, because I think it's important that we look at the difficult points. The middle one that crosses the rest, so it's not going up steady, is cultural awareness and action. And so while that's something we've improved on and it's something we're doing relatively well on, it's not something we're improving on as quickly and as effectively as everything else. And so that's an area we really want to focus on. So sliding down now to my 3 goals. So there are many, many, many things going on in the high school aimed at improvement. We've talked about them at different times. The 3 things I talk about here are really school-wide initiatives that are sort of pulling together a lot of the themes. So if I had to look at the last 3 or 4 years and wonder why we're getting improvements in so many different areas, I have to give an enormous amount of credit to our ILT. So our ILT at the high school has taken the lead in coordinating professional development, getting feedback from the staff around what's working and what's not working, curating and supporting the committees that are then working on those themes. And the themes have been deeper learning, rigorous, I got the 3 things and I always forget. Deeper learning, academic conversations, which is a focus on engagement, and equitable access to higher level curriculum. And different teacher groups are working that in all kinds of different ways. So we have groups working on heterogeneous grouping, we have groups working on supporting ML students, we have groups working on the advisory program, and those groups have all done presentations and implemented things in the school, across the school. So the 3 things that they've worked on this year coming out of that 2-year cycle, 1 is last spring, coordinating the new committees, reviewing what they've done, taking proposals, and forming new committees focused on different problems of practice aligned to deeper learning and equitable access. Second, these are a little out of order, over the summer, the ILT met and curated the professional development activities for the early releases that the staff are doing this summer to make sure that, again, they were focusing on those united themes and supporting the work of the committees. And last, coming into the fall, one of the things that they realized, and many people were giving feedback, was that there were a lot of specific things that people really wanted targeted instruction in. So they're going to be running 2 sessions of crash courses focused on really specific training, like effective grading practices, 25 minutes with someone who's working on that, and a whole lot of different efforts that are focus areas of the teachers. Next slide. Belonging through collaborative problem solving. I will say, I want to say this year, working with these two, I have never had as much collaboration at the secondary level in a lot of years than I'm having with Andrew and Rochelle. Last spring, we all got together and wrote a common grant, or Andrew wasn't there yet, but he jumped right in when he showed up, in order to start really rolling out CPS. So at the high school, we've been doing CPS, I can't remember how many years, 7 or 8 years. It's had very positive impacts on school discipline, on school climate and culture. And yet, there are 2 challenges for us. One is maintaining training levels, right? You have new staff coming in, people forget what they're doing, and so maintaining that kind of level of training is a big challenge. And then secondarily, getting people to really embed it in their practice. A lot of people are early adopters, a lot of people understood it, a lot of people adopted the training, but getting people to understand how it affects policies and routines, particularly in the sub-separate programs, which have had a lot of turnover and have very challenging populations. So the 2 things that at the high school we were focusing on was, 1, having the summer training in person, which is significantly better than the online training that we've had to do recently, and we want to work on how we can do more of that. Increasing our capacity for coaching and doing consultations around our sub-separate programs. So those things are all happening this year. And then we've got another grant out to try to build out our capacity to do in-house training, so that right now we have coaches that are certified, but there's another level above that where you can actually do the full training, and then we could run for ourselves large-scale trainings. Over the summer, 78, I believe, people came to the training. About 25 were from the middle school, about 10 were from Gibbs, is that right? A few less. And about 25 were from the high school. Other folks were from elsewhere in the district, and there were also about 8 community members. And so the last piece is that we really feel like now we're in the position to say to parents, this is what we do, and we're going to train you in how to do this, and we're also going to train the students so that they understand what it is they're going through. It's something we've explained in the past, but not something we've consistently trained them on, because having that as a consistent expectation wasn't always there. And then the last slide, clear and consistent communication. Having been here as long as I have, it's a little embarrassing to have to say this, but getting the infrastructure in place to be able to really systematically get instruction and information out to parents has been a challenge. And yet we're really there now. So last year we introduced the newsletter. That was a big success. We're rolling that forward. Along with that, last year we introduced more regular notifications about interim grades and attendance. So we've now staffed that position, and so we've now added to the newsletter weekly reminders, because people need to be reminded. I didn't want to have to be the reminder, but we found that it really works very well and people really appreciate it. So the newsletter's out there. The newsletter's the comprehensive, everything that's going on this month. But every week you get a reminder of what's happening in the newsletter so that you can go back and look at the things you need to look at that time. At the same time, Power School is now getting automated, so people are getting regular tardy notices, absence notices, FA notices. And it takes a little while, because the first time you send them out, the people want to know why their kid's in trouble. We've written the softest and friendliest emails we possibly can. And that's why the last thing has been really helpful, because the communication is always about directing them to a relationship. We're not trying to automate these things so that we don't have a relationship. We're trying to automate these things so people get notices and build a relationship sooner. And it's been really effective. And you see that pattern. I mean, that's why we have better attendance, right? It's why we have better communications, and those things are happening. But that's an ongoing thing that we're pretty excited about. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Great presentation. Same thing I said to the elementary school. You guys put a lot of time into this, and we really appreciate the effort. I'm going to open it up. Mr. Carden.
First, I'd like to move receipt of all of the school improvement plans.
We have a
Second.
motion to receive all the school improvement plans. We have a second by Mr. Schlickman. Is there any discussion? There is a discussion. Okay, Dr. Allison-Ampe? No?
I have a question.
Okay, well-
So this is after, not about this.
All right, so let's take the vote. Dr. Allison, we have to do roll call. Dr. Allison-Ampe?
Yes.
Ms. Alham?
Yes.
Ms. Exton?
Yes.
Mr. Cardin?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So they're all received. That's all that means. Okay, got it
All right,
done. Now is your question.
All right,
No,
so,
So I think, Chrissy, Len's going to go first, then you. Okay, go.
Thank you. Thank you all for all your hard work. So just a couple things for you, Mr. Amati. When you do come to a conclusion about the schedule, if you could come back and share that with us. I mean, I think it sort of falls in the line between, what we have authority over and what we don't, but it'd just be helpful for you to share it with us. We knew about Project Block when Gibbs was set up, and it sort of went away, and then Wynn came in, we weren't really in the loop there. When we put ACE in at the elementary schools, that was clearly, that needed resources, so that did come to us. But whatever you come up with, just come back and share. That'd be great. And just want to give kudos for the success of Nature's Classroom. I was just randomly talking with a colleague last week before Thanksgiving, because we're talking about cranberries, and she had visited a cranberry bog and her version of Nature's Classroom, 30 years ago. And those memories are still with her. So we're creating wonderful memories. It's one of the proudest things that I've done as a school committee member, was to help preserve that program, thanks to Mr. Thielman's motion about it. So thank you for continuing that success.
Ms. Gittleson?
Actually, my question is Nature's Classroom related. So do you have a sense of, so if 84% of the sixth graders are going, do you have a sense of, for the 16% who aren't? I guess I've heard incredible things from the people I know whose kids have gone. It concerns me that 16% of the class is not a part of this, and I'm sort of curious why we think that is, and if those are barriers that can be overcome with different resources.
Yeah, based on I've canvassed some folks and spoken to some members of the community, and my biggest sense right now actually is that some families don't feel comfortable sending their child away for 2 nights. That appears to, or wonder if they will be successful in an environment that is away from home with, in bunks with classmates, some of which they may not know yet. So I think there's an educational component that we can do better on for the future to assure folks that it worked well for all of our students. And yes, there were students that were nervous to go and excited to go and a little scared to go. And, some of the kids had a great first night and some cried a little bit. But from what we learned from our students when they came back is that almost every single one of them had a wonderful time. So I would say there's an educational component, which I would venture to guess is more than half of the 16% that did not go.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about, it's not cheap to go. I think the amount this year was $500-ish per kid. Is that, I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, approximately $500.
So what kind of resources are being devoted to making that not be a barrier to attendance? And how does that work? Especially when kids are so new to the school, when all of that is going on.
Yeah, my understanding, and I'll be honest, I was involved as I got started. Some of the payment and the processing of payment and family support had already occurred prior to me accepting the position, so I will learn more about that throughout this year. But my understanding is there are resources to support families that need partial payment or that may require more, and that our staff that planned this worked hand in hand with those families to communicate clearly about what they could do, and we met families where we could. I also think it's important that we get out of this a little bit earlier. I mean, $500 is, for some families, is a significant cost. And so making sure that families are aware, now, that this is something that we'll be doing, and 10 months from now to, begin the planning stages of that so that their child can attend. Because I think it's expensive, I think it's worth every dollar and more.
I think I agree, and as the parent of a fifth grader, I think there's a pretty wide degree of understanding, of sort of knowledge about that coming at this point in the year, and there's a lot of challenges, obviously, with that transition, but I just want to, I really want to make sure that the 16%, if there are kids for whom this is not the right thing for them, that's a family's decision. I still sort of feel bad that those kids that there's this major thing happening and those kids aren't a part of it, but I want the easiest problem to solve, I feel like should be making sure that money is not the barrier. And so I think you're right. The sooner that communication starts to go out, the better.
It's possible Ms. Greiner has some perspective on the financial piece, just because she was there last year. So I don't know if you have anything to add about how we are doing the collection and the scholarships for it?
Yeah, so I guess when we present it out to the families, there is a component to all the families, it's part of the packet. If you need any support in any way, shape or form, to just reach out. We've never denied any family any support. And just to piggyback off of what Andrew said about the 16%, it's also the fact that some students play sports that get in the way of them being able to be away for the 2 nights.
That makes sense.
That's right.
So that's something else that plays a role in that. And there's no real good time for sports, so some of that 16% is because of the sports. But never in all my years has any child been denied to go due to any reason why. So just something to be aware of.
And
Nature's classroom is more important than sports.
I'll add, Ms. Gittleson, too, that one of the things that has come up several times for us is the desire of some families to contribute to the ability of another student to go, or whether we could have community members who are interested in doing so sponsor another student to go. So this kind of goes to other conversations that I know are ongoing about like solicitation and taking donations for specific purposes, and might need to be part of some of the conversations we have around policy around that. So.
I guess I'm glad to hear all of that. I get worried about the family that's not comfortable asking.
Yeah.
Because I believe what Ms. Greiner is saying, but I know families for whom they were able to do it. It wasn't without challenge, especially right now, and there's sort of I think that's what concerns me is to me, and I know that we have fantastic social workers and there's a lot of resources. It just seems like that's a particular challenge for kids at the very beginning of 6th grade in a new school with there's a lot around that makes me not totally convinced that there aren't those people out there that we can try to I know we're doing a good job, but that we can try to do more, because it's, when you compare that to the cost of summer, it's a chunk of change at the beginning of a school year, which is an expensive time of year.
Let me just add one more thing. The staff, the school counselors and the administration, when we find out the list of students, the 16% that aren't going, we call each family so that they're aware of that. And Andrew's correct. There's some that it's a non-negotiable. They just don't want their kid to be away, which is totally fine. Sports, and we've never run into the fact if anyone doesn't want to tell us that they can't. It might be the case for some families, but we do bend over back to make sure that all families have the access to go if they want to go.
And I guess related, what are the kids who aren't going? What are they doing during those 2 days when the rest of is it by LC or is it, I don't even know how it's organized.
So, yeah, I can explain briefly. This year we did not go by LC. There was a intentionality to mix LCs to continue to build community throughout the school. In the past, they had gone as an LC. So that means some of the remaining students were kind of placed in a homeroom, and they had a range of activities within the building that were, adjacent to the curriculum that they were working on. About half of the staff went to Nature's Classroom, and about half remained back at the school. And I'd be lying if I didn't say it's a really complicated thing to program because each day is slightly different.
Right.
We also built in a couple different field trips. I believe one of them was to the Museum of Natural History, so that students,
During the days other students were at Nature's Classroom?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Allison Ampe.
Thank you. I have two questions and one comment. And first, congratulations on all of your accomplishments. But my comment first, I wanted to note that if you look at the enrollment that you can see in the graphs that are presented, the retention rate, grade over grade, is over 100% for all of the years that you can see data for. So all the years from 6 through, I can't see what the data is for 12, but I think that speaks to the work that the schools have been doing, the work that you're currently doing, and the feelings that the public, our families have about our schools. So congratulations on that. Second, I continue, and this is where the questions start. I continue to hear concerns from multiple levels, teachers, families, etc., about the multiple transitions, especially for our special education students. And I'm hoping that this specific group is a strong focus when you're looking at your transition, when you're looking at doing transitions between the different schools. I guess that's not actually a question, that's a statement. And then finally, this is a question. I am hoping that at Gibbs, is there any way that we could bring back the project-based learning? Thank you.
So the only question is for Gibbs. So. Good.
I don't want to answer with a question back, but I'm not sure if I fully understand or appreciate the nature of the project-based learning that you're describing. So there is more to do in terms of integrating curriculum that we can do. I certainly think that with what we've learned from EL education in the K-5 space, that there are things that you can do to integrate say nonfiction texts with science and social studies that I find particularly exciting, and perhaps that might be an avenue where we can integrate some of the work across content areas, but specifically about kind of bringing back more project-based. I may need to get back to you on that specific topic.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Schlickman? Ms. Alhan first, and then Mr. Schlickman.
Ms. Sadat?
Sadat. Sorry. Did I screw
okay.
up when I...
It's the first night.
Yeah.
No, thank you for really fantastic presentations. I loved hearing about the work that you all are doing to provide kind of consistency and cohesiveness across the 3 schools. Again, I'm sorry to have this be a little bit more of the Gibbs question, but how are you all thinking about that same type of consistency and making sure that the 5th grade students and families are preparing sufficiently to kind of enter this secondary school? So just speaking as a parent who went through this transition with my current 7th grader at the Addison, it could have been smoother, and there could have been a lot more, for example, communication about Nature's Classroom, the math kind of exam that you could, a lot of that communication I did not find to be super, super smooth. And how are you all thinking about that, the continuation going down into the elementary grades?
Thank you and welcome to the school committee. It's a big question, and I'll be transparent that having worked at the Pierce School for the past 5 years, I'm kind of able to see that the transition is it's a big one coming into the middle school. So one of the things I've already begun doing is working very closely with our directors, who I should give a shout out to. They're wonderful. because they work K to 12 and they understand the curriculum and they understand the expectations in the 5th grade and in the 6th grade. And so one of the ways we're kind of doing this in a concrete way is talking about the both curricular and then non-curricular, the executive functioning skills required, because it's a pretty big jump. And so that means that we are having 5th and 6th grade teachers meet more frequently. We already have plans through our transitions for general education teachers and special education teachers to be working more closely together. And then, you know, I intend to meet more with families probably in the next few months. Certainly around something like Nature's Classroom, I'll be going to the schools and hosting times to meet with families and take their questions. And I think beyond that, there's work to do around just making sure that our families are aware that, you know, it is a jump into the middle school. I mean, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of firsts at the Gibbs, right? The first time any kids take a public school bus or public transportation or travel from class to class or leave their Chromebook in the wrong classroom and they can't remember where it was because the schedule changed from the day before. And those aren't all bad things. Those are things that are part of middle school life. So I think normalizing that, those things are okay. We're here to work with kids and that, you know, we kind of grow a lot in middle school.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haddad. Mr. Schlickman.
Okay. First of all, I want to commend the Addison. First of all, you know, the thing is that you're a very large school, so you fall under the radar of a lot of the DESE accommodations because when you have, what's your enrollment now, about 1,100?
We're just under 1,000 currently.
Are you, okay, that's about what the school was, that's what the school was built for.
Yeah.
For 3 grades, and you can obviously, well, in any case, at the times that I've been in the building, I've seen some great instruction. I've been privileged to be there for Civics Day the past few years, and because you're a large school with a lot of subgroups and all it takes is one to get knocked off the accommodation list, it is obvious to me, as somebody who's looked at indicators, that your indicators are all very strong. And when I was first on the school committee, the Addison was a problem child, and I think that right now we could say that the Addison is a crown jewel of the system. I'm just impressed with what's going on there. And I'm very impressed with the way that this group of 3 leaders is collaborating. I just want to give the Gibbs a chance to discuss a little bit about math, because that was certainly a big topic at our table last year. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about how math is going in 6th grade this year vis-a-vis last year, vis-a-vis, you know, because that hit our home a lot.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mr. Schlickman. I am comfortable speaking about what I see in math this year. Mm-hmm. And to be frank, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing in classrooms. I see our students working hard in the classroom on grade-aligned tasks. I see a math team that cares very much about their students' success. I see differentiated instruction in the classroom, along with strong co-teaching across multiple LCs. And I mean, I paid attention last year to some of the discussions that were taking place relevant to the Math 7 class. I have been in that class and been impressed with the student work that I've seen in there, which is consistent to what I see in other math classes as well. Mm-hmm.
I also want to call out the high school. I mean, one of the privileges of having the central office in the same building just about is the high schools. We get to walk through here every once in a while on the way into the central office. And I've never seen a high school with a better climate. It's a pleasure. The kids are all comfortable and happy to be here, and obviously the academic outcomes reflect the comfort and love of the school that has been built by your staff. There are obviously great connections being made between teachers and students, which is really the foundation of the success of the academic program. at Arlington High. So I'm going to follow up with the same question that we had last time, and I'll recognize the fact that the high school is the even harder question because you're the level now facing the surge of enrollment. Difficult times ahead. Please tell us why it is compelling to maintain a level services budget at the very least for this district.
I can go first. I mean, so level services at the high school, when we've grown by 150 students in the last 2 years. We're expecting to grow by another 50 students next year. We have not quite kept pace with staffing over the last 2 years, so things are tight. And we've always, in spite of the fact that we're having financial difficulties right now, or coming to this challenging time, Arlington runs pretty lean, and the high school runs pretty lean. The students are very efficiently distributed amongst all of their classes. Teachers are carrying loads at this point of well over 100 students each. And what happens if we don't keep up with that? If class sizes went from, let's say, I don't know the exact average off the top of my head, but if they went from an average of 20 to 25 or 22 to 27, that means a single teacher now has 25 more students, which is an entire extra class to prep for. It means that many of the programs that we're having that are supporting our most marginalized students and our most high-need students, those are ones that are running with smaller class sizes. Those get much more difficult to program for. It means that the things that we are doing, the clubs, the Voices United workshops, the inclusion workshops, all of those things really go away when a teacher can no longer find the time to do any kind of extra work because they've got 25 more kids to grade. So making, basically, if a system runs at about, the design of the building is that it's 80% full. And the reason the design of the building is that it's 80% full is because when buildings are more than 80% full, they don't function. When highways are more than 80% full, you get infinitely long traffic jams. Right now, we're running around 85% full. And if we go to a system where we're not keeping up with staffing and maintaining the staffing levels, we go to a system that's 90, 95% full. Students can't get in the classes they want. They can't change their schedules. They can't talk. The teachers can't grade the papers. It really, the whole thing kind of comes down like a house of cards.
I'll echo those sentiments. At the middle school level, and we have, as you know, almost 1,000 students entering the building every day, and it is just, you don't even realize the sheer number of how many middle school students that is until you watch them enter and exit the building every day, and it truly is incredible. And in order for a middle school student to receive the support that they receive at the Audison is because of our staffing ratios for teachers, our learning communities, and our counseling. We have the middle school child, the middle school mind is just at a really crucial stage of development, and their day is unpredictable. Their response to things can be very unpredictable, and their needs can be unpredictable. But because of our staffing ratios that we currently have, we are able to meet the needs of our students. We have teachers that are able to connect with students and follow up with students and follow up with families. And we're not perfect, and we have growth in that area, but it really is because of the way we are resourced in the school that we're able to do that and to meet those individual needs of students. And we have some incredible classes, new classes that we are offering this year, thanks to the resources and some additions from last year that we added at our school. And we have creative minds at work for how we're refining them and what we would like to roll out as options for next year that are really helping a child's sense of belonging and sense of community and taking really what they're learning in their classes and transferring that knowledge to the world outside and getting them ready to be the leaders in the high school that we need. So that is why it is so incredibly important to keep our staffing model and ratios as they are. I really, truly believe that that's why we are successful, because of the care that we are able to give to our students thanks to our staffing model that we currently have.
I think my colleagues said everything in a more profound way than I can. But I want to echo something that Ms. Leiner said in the earlier presentation, which this is all very fragile. And so I thought about how I would kind of answer this question if it were posed tonight, and she kind of took the words. If you imagine goofing around with anything too much, you can imagine breaking a system that right now I see is working very well. And having had the pleasure of working in the elementary schools and now in the secondary, I'm able to see the cohesion and the way this is working in tandem to one another. So I would just kind of close by saying education's expensive. We all know it. It costs a lot of money to provide a high level of education for students in 2025, and so I hope this community can keep it up.
Can I add one more thing? I meant to also add that we really cannot do the work, I cannot do the work without our curriculum directors and our curriculum coordinators. And I really think that is why we see our students performing so in that high category at 97% accountability percentile, is because we have curriculum directors, coordinators who are experts in their content, and they are able to meet with teachers and make sure that the teachers are also experts in that content area, and if they are not, they are able to provide that that teaching and learning and help them to get there. I know that I could not do it without my assistant principals as well. I could not do it without the curriculum directors being there to support every step of the way. We have a huge building, the high school has a huge building. We have a lot of staff, and they are instrumental in helping with the instructional leadership of the school, and we could not do it without their support as well.
I want to point out that every teacher is entitled to have coaching, just as the Drake May and Tom Brady and all the players that we think are great are entitled to good coaching and thrive because of their coaching. Great teachers thrive because they have great coaches behind them.
And our special, and our special education coordinators. We also at the Audison have one dedicated to Audison this year and one dedicated to Gibbs this year. And some of what I think I heard around some transitions that we're working on, we are working on it, and we know it, and we are doing the work now. And again, it takes time to see growth, and we're going to get there with growth, but I think that is a really important piece that we added this year that's really helping to stabilize our school and help with those transitions. So
Thank
I
you.
could go on and on. You can stop.
Did you want to say something, Ann? No. So, I mean, the, thank you very much. To summarize, the Arlington's cost per pupil is lower than the statewide average. So keep that in mind. So we get a good bang for a buck out of all of you. And I think the same thing that I said summarizing the elementary schools, all the investments that we made have allowed students to grow and learn and to create a culture of safety. I think I kind of intuited that from some of your comments, and a culture of caring and accountability. And to keep that going, we got to keep funding it. All right, thank you. This was excellent. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to let you go. Well, no, actually, Dr. Jenga, you're not going anywhere. You're staying right there, right by the microphone. Okay.
He has detention?
No, he can give me detention. He runs the building.
Back to spirit.
Thank you. So we're going to, I think it's just the first reading, right? This is the draft. This is the first reading of the AHS program of studies. This is only going to take a few minutes.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak to it, and then Matt?
I can start, and then I'll hand it off to Dr. Jenger. So we know this landed in Novus today. And as a matter of fact, I think that the updates page landed in Novus during the meeting. So we did not expect, we did not expect any of you to look at this. We wanted to make sure that you had it in hand. We can speak to it at the next meeting. And there will be updates made. It's still being drafted and tweaked and adjusted, potentially ads being made. And then when we give the final version, we'll also do the document comparison so you can check that all the updates made it to the updates page, as we've done in the last couple of years. Dr. Jenger, you can speak to some of the major adjustments that have been made for this year, and that way y'all can be watching for those as you give it a read before our next meeting, but we won't need to dig into it until our next meeting.
We wanted to get it to you today, in particular because we wanted to give you the 2 weeks to read it. There will probably be some formatting and wording changes between now and the version you have, but nothing substantive because we're going through it again and still cleaning and reformatting. The big reason we wanted to get it to you now was to maximize the chance that either it could be approved at the end of December on the 18th, or if not then, immediately upon our return in January. Because it is our goal this year to start the whole process a good month or so earlier, because we really want to get the schedule built and done by June, so we can use that for budget planning, so we can use that to let folks know what they're doing, and so we can use that for hiring. It's a big stressor, we know, to everybody, that the budget doesn't get finished sort of until July, and then has to get rolled over. So really being able to have that in place by June is something we're really targeting, but that means starting everything a month earlier. Big changes, they're listed there at the top. There's the Innovations Pathway Program, which we're very excited about, which we'll be doing a separate presentation about in 2 weeks. The other is the moving of English 10 to the heterogeneous model, which we're doing a forum about sometime in the next week for 7th. We've invited 7th through 9th grade parents. I'm trying to remember what the other big one was. There was one more that I'd written down, and now I don't have it here. Do you remember what it was, Liz?
Oh.
I closed my computer. Hang on.
I decide.
Oh, the I Decide one is funny. So the I Decide is a program that we have put in place for students who, in particular, have drug and alcohol issues. Because it's a curriculum, they had put it, I think we're actually going to take it out of the program and studies and put it into the student handbook. But it was placed in there because we wanted people to see that as a curricular program. So that's a training. We've now got a lot of staff trained to do that. And when we have first offenses around drugs, alcohol, and other substances, instead of disciplinary suspensions, very often what students do is I Decide. Sometimes they do it in combination with suspensions. So that's why that was in there. Everything else is there's some consolidation of art because they've gone through the new program and figured out which classes people were and weren't taking. Most of the other stuff is sort of just pathways things.
Could you talk about the adjustments you've made to pre-calculus?
Yes. So if you'll remember last year, we talked about the fact that we had pre-calculus A and pre-calculus H. But that since both of those were advanced curriculum in the state, right, that's beyond the high school level already, it seemed like students taking pre-calculus A should be getting honors credit. So we changed having it be pre-calculus H, which was the old A, and pre-calculus H for BC, which was the old honors. That's been there were not substantial changes in the curriculum during that time. There have been some changes, interestingly, in how students are experiencing it, which is that students now realize that they could get the honors credit in both classes, and students who pre-calculus H for BC was a very challenging class. And so many students who were only planning to go on to AB have opted to switch to the honors class. Recognizing how challenging the program is and looking at trying to make it so that it's targeted towards what its purpose is, we've made a decision, which I think is a good one for all, to have pre-calculus H4BC be AP pre-calculus. So there is an AP pre-calculus program. The AP pre-calculus program prepares you for BC. We'll go into more detail about it because it actually works very nicely pathways-wise because there are 4 sections. The first 3 prepare you for AB. The 4th one prepares you for BC. Seniors who are taking AP pre-calculus would finish the first 3 because they would leave. Juniors who are taking the program would take all 4, which would prepare them for BC calculus. So it actually aligns really well. And then we'll use the mathematic curriculum for the pre-calculus A, which will prepare students for AB calculus. So it means that the weighting is now more consistent with the fact that one is harder. It makes it so that the classes are more consistent, and it aligns us to a national curriculum, which all seems like a win-win-win. Anything Anything else you want to throw me that I wasn't prepared to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Any other questions?
Can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you just talk a little bit about some of the courses that are being retired? I'm just looking at orchestra curriculum A and chorale, I don't know. Are they being consolidated?
Most of that
or-
is retitling or shifting.
Okay. I just didn't see something that looked similar in the new courses, so I was trying to figure out where those would,
I'll have more to say about that in 2 weeks.
okay, thank you.
Which one were the ones you were particularly interested in?
The music ones, but I'm sure others would be interested in other.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is retitling or shifting because of the way kids are flowing through, particularly in the music program. Their ensembles shift as they have different groups of kids and different interests. In the end, we somehow end up with 200 kids in the program any way we do it. Some of it has been, I think they have a thing in here about, there was a part-time chorus, which had started as a freshman opportunity and had expanded to upper classes, but really wasn't intended to. And so you had students who were taking half chorus when they were juniors, but could fit the whole chorus in their program. And that was not the intent of that program, so it was sort of watering down the consistency of the program. I'll have more about it in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone left?
Before you go.
No, AHS competency determination policy?
Let's talk about this too.
Yeah, you need to stay for this, sorry.
I'll get started with this one. This is a first read of the competency determination policy. We are required to pass competency determination policy by the end of the calendar year. And this is not different in substance from what we had passed last spring when we needed a temporary measure and to decide what to do after the vote in November to end the requirement on MCAS. We have been very clear, and hats off to the high school staff because they were very clear, from what I understand, in the back to school night presentations by teachers, that we expect students to take MCAS. And that is for our planning purposes. It is for us being able to measure how we're doing on our improvement goals. It is not an individual measure anymore for students that is a graduation requirement, but it is still something that we want them to participate in. And I think some students still take it seriously. And we are glad to have a competency determination that still has that same standard in terms of the standards that students meet in order to graduate. So this is the same as what we had previously, which is essentially that students need to meet the 10th grade standard in ELA, math, and in a science. The state has, so MASC has passed, has also a template policy version of this that is a little more focused on like the specific courses that students take. It talks a lot more about the courses themselves. The state has a task force that was meeting, and part of our delay was hoping that that task force would come out with some recommendations, we'd be able to see the direction that they're headed before we drafted the policy. But they just released some of that preview this week. And so we wanted to make sure that there was something for the committee to consider. This would be part of the policy manual. It would also be captured in the program of studies. And the courses that count towards competency determination would be asterisk marked in the program of studies. But all of our students take those classes. And as Dr. Jenger shared, the vast majority of them pass those classes, and we have mechanisms for them to retake them in the summer or during the next school year if they do not. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say about this.
I mean, the only thing I would say is that between now and 2 weeks from now, I think we need to do a close read of the language in the program of studies to make sure that it aligns what is in there and add those asterisks. It's one of the things, as you were saying, that I realized that is in the new policy, that is not in the program of studies, is the history requirement.
You want to look at the second one in Novus, which has in blue what's different from the first document in Novus about our version of the policy. We
question?
actually decided, I want to point out one other thing, sorry. We decided to go ahead and include the competency bar for history because our students already take a United States history class. It's a requirement for us. We don't have any need to wait until 2027 to include this in our policy, so we went ahead and included it.
That
in
is
there.
a change, and that's
That's
not
a
in the program of studies now.
And we'll have to put that in there.
Ms. Exton?
So on the part that talks about late enrolling students, it has one of those bullet points says a qualifying MCAS score. Is that, like, can you explain that?
So, wait, hold on, which part are you in?
I don't know where it was. Page 2, I think, the bottom of page 2.
In ours?
With the thing with blue.
Ah, yes. So that was in the model that MASC gave us. We could use that. You had actually questioned this, I think, about whether or not it would make sense to use a qualifying score when it's coursework for all of the other instances. I would be open to adjusting that. Go ahead.
So if I understood the state expectation, and Liz went deeper in this than I did,
Mm-hmm.
the state is saying that the MCAS can still be a qualifying thing for the CD as an alternate to tests, to the classes. When we, in our current program of studies, passing scores on the previous MCAS had been one way to demonstrate these. So it's still for the current graduating class, and I think next year's, it's still an option that, now, they also can't graduate if they haven't passed the courses that mean that they've met it anyway. So they're going to get it either way, but it is one of the ways they could do it. So I think that was why we had left it in.
It was in the MASC model, which is why I left it in there. I was a little surprised to see it there, mostly because I thought that the vote that was taken in November of last year disqualified this as an option. And MASC is our policy guidance body. So I'm open either way,
I also
having
think
the
they're
option.
phasing out the MCAS.
No.
To do the end of course.
So the new guidance suggests that there might be a phasing out of MCAS to do end of course assessments, in which case this would be moot. But that is what was released this week, so that's new information. I'm open either way. It gives us some latitude to consider something else in the event there's not documentation on one of the other two marks, but I think the other two marks would be our primary.
I mean, the weird challenge we sometimes have, although it would be unlikely you do one and not the other, is we do have kids come to us where their records are very difficult for us to interpret, but they're pretty late in their education. It is our tendency to sort of, if they are able to be successful, I mean, we had a kid come from Ukraine who had no records, right? And so if that happens, you have no records, but they've been in school for 4 years, right? So we take their word for it that they've passed the classes they've passed, and we give them sort of ultimate, if they're taking pre-calculus, we have reasonable confidence that they've done something in math for the last 3 years. So we credit without worrying about that. If there's too many requirements that we have to, but I'm not going to count that for the competency determination. If they happen to have taken an MCAS somewhere, we could do that. So it would give us an alternate.
Okay. It makes me a little uncomfortable. I mean, I have other feelings about the MCAS too, but just seeing it in there as it's something that, as like this policy is meant to fulfill the competency determination in a different way, but that's fine.
I would be fine with leaving it out.
Well, I think my whole committee would have to agree about leaving it out, so.
I wouldn't mind hearing from folks about it.
Yeah, just on that point, I mean, the more paths, the better. I mean, it doesn't hurt to leave it in there. It's an option. So like you said, if there's a circumstance where there's no transcript to review, what do you do? Maybe they do good on the MCAS, just use that. I mean, the more way we can get kids to graduate, the better, I think. So I wouldn't take it out. Just to clarify, so the first document in Novus is the MASC
That's their model.
And the second one, like in the table where it's all blue, we didn't have that column at all before. for coursework requirements, or,
I don't think we had that table before. We adjusted, so they had that table in theirs. And so we adjusted the language that's in their table because this is where I said they were really specific about the exact course you take. And we want it to align with the program of studies and also have the ability to change our course names because this is a policy that you all set. So we were less specific about exactly what course to take. Plus they had language in there about integrated math. We don't do integrated math. We have Algebra 1, geometry. So we pared that down. So all of that language is blue because it's a little different from what's in the model policy if you compare the two. And ours is a little less focused on taking this number of classes. It's part of the graduation requirement that they would take that number of classes anyway.
but I thought we had passed some things for 26.
So what is in the program of studies says you passed a course aligned to the standard about that thing. So it doesn't tell us what the name of it is. We don't, it covers those things. So that was the language that we put in there.
Thanks.
Mr. Schlickman?
I note that the qualifying MCAS is not a general option. It is only for late enrolling students, for students enroll in a high school after their 9th grade year, that it can be a consideration. And I am emphatic over the fact that the standards that we set for competency listed with the blue text for coursework requirements is far more rigorous than anything on the MCAS. And this is just really an attempt to take the model policy, which has been vetted for the state, and merging it with what we've done in the past so that we have a coherent document that makes sense, that the high school can work off of. So I commend the superintendent and the principal for their work in just putting this together.
That's a first read. We bring it back for second.
Okay.
Next meeting.
You may now go home.
Thank you, Dr. Chang.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next, Mr. Schlickman filed the EDL.
Well, Joan Roman was here earlier in terms of talking about the replacement of Novus, and she was going through our documentation and found that BEDL had a reference to the Town Manager Act that had nothing to do with this, and so that all this would do on BEDL is strike the reference to the Town Manager Act that links to something totally irrelevant. So that's the only thing that's happening here. So I would I would make a motion to suspend the rules to go to second reading on this.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Dr. Allison Ampe, is
She's gone.
okay. Well, we can just do a roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Actually, we need to maintain the roll call because we started in the meeting in this manner.
Okay, it looks like the principal set off the alarm in his own building. Ms. Sadat,
Yes.
Ms. Exton,
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, it's unanimous. Go ahead.
I move approval of BEDL as amended.
Second.
This requires a two-thirds vote of the members present.
No, actually, no, this is just a unanimous.
Oh, this is unanimous?
This is just
Majority.
a majority vote.
Oh, is this, okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was-
Suspending the rules was two-thirds.
Two-thirds, right, okay, thank you, not the second vote. Very good. Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
Dr. Gittleson.
I'm
Just see your paying attention.
gonna send my parents that recording.
Yeah, well, that happens. Mr. Thielen votes yes, it's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Superintendent evaluation materials.
Okay. hold
Go
on
ahead.
1 second. Okay. I've shared evaluation portfolio with the committee, and Mr. Thielman can answer any questions folks have about process for the actual evaluation. I just want to give a little bit of an overview of some of what is there. I can be happy to answer any questions about what is there, or add anything, or send you along anything if there's something that you would like to see. So the homepage just sort of gives an overview, and it has the goals that we had set and the school committee had voted in January embedded on that page. By the way, if you run into any access issues, please let me know. I think I got everything open so that folks can access it publicly, but if you run into a snag, please tell me. As a reminder, the goals are at the top of each of these pages. There's a student learning goal page, a professional practice goal page, and then the 2 district improvement goals are both on this page with a single reflection at the end. On each page, there's the goal at the top, the outcomes that were in the goals articulated, and the outcomes there's a little bit of a difference between outcomes and outputs. So the outcomes are usually student-focused outcomes. This is data that we're using and tracking, often data that's noted in the strategic plan. The outputs are the evidence of progress. This is just things we're working on that we have some evidence of that might be captured in an artifact, might not be data that is tied to outcomes in the strategic plan, but it's some degree of evidence that we're working towards whatever that outcome was that we had articulated. Next to each one of those things that were in the goals, there's either a green check mark or a hourglass. If it's a green check mark, what I'm saying there is we have done this. We've worked on this, and we were successful in meeting whatever that goal was. If it's an hourglass, it's probably in progress. We maybe aren't all the way done. It's probably a goal that's going to extend into next year's goals, or something that we're still working on, or that for some reason or another we've tabled. And so if it's the hourglass there, I probably talk about it a little bit in the reflection as something that is still an area for improvement or ongoing work. There are 2-ish key artifacts for each one. There are more of those for, am I on the right one? I might be on 2420. Nope, I am on the right one. Okay, so there's more for the student learning goal, because there's just more for the student learning goal. We're doing a lot of work with that, and you saw some of the evidence of that in the school quality plans this evening. But there are a couple of artifacts on the professional practice goal and a couple of artifacts for each of the 2 district improvement goals. I did want to point out that we, for the district improvement goals, included some staff attendance data that was state reported this year and is aligned with some of the goals that we had in our collective bargaining agreements and that we've been working on collectively together, and we're ahead of the state in keeping track of this and making it a priority and reporting on it. So we included that as well as the student attendance trends, and did some analysis there for you that's separate from any of the other presentations that you've seen. Most of the other things are things that you probably have heard us talk about, or you've been part of, or you voted on. So I hope there aren't any major surprises, and if there's anything else that you'd like to see or have questions about, please don't hesitate to let me know. So that was just a quick navigational overview, and note that there is a reflection at the end of each of the pages where the artifacts are, and if I had a recommendation, it would be to start perhaps with that reflection, because it guides you through kind of what is there in the evidence and speaks to any of the bullet points at the top that I didn't necessarily provide an artifact for, but that were part of the goal. I was trying to streamline the amount of stuff you had to sift through per our conversation earlier. I hope that you find that it feels like a little less stuff to sift through. And that also means, though, that I don't have an artifact for every single bullet point. So if there's something you'd like to see, don't hesitate to ask. That's all I have.
Any questions? So our goal is next Thursday to send it to Ms. Diggins and me, and then we're going to figure out what to do. That about sums it up. All right? Okay, and Ms. Sadat is excused. Okay. And have we ever had like a conversation about how the frequency of these evaluations in a subcommittee meeting? Have we ever talked about that? I can't recall.
I feel like there was a conversation somewhere.
Yes, but did we ever?
In recent past.
Would it be good to have a subcommittee look at this? Look at the evaluation again? We haven't done that in a while.
We could do that.
Do we have an idea what subcommittee could do that?
Usually that goes through policies.
Okay.
But if,
or should it go through curriculum? Probably should go through Ms. Exton.
Assessment.
Assessment.
Evaluation. Accountability. I don't know.
Yeah.
So well said. That was so good. Okay, so do we need a motion, or can you just do this, Ms. Exton? Like, just have a meeting and figure it out over the next night.
What are we
I
trying
think-
to figure
Yeah,
out?
can you clarify? I mean, we did have a discussion.
We did,
About lightening the load on the superintendent.
Yes.
By doing a biannual every
Yes.
2 years.
But we never,
We did have a discussion at subcommittee with the superintendent that we still felt it was valuable to do it every year. But we wanted to limit the number of goals.
Yeah.
Align the goals with the district goals, so that we weren't getting reports and reports and reports on goals and
Yeah.
goals and goals. I don't know that we've done that. I think we were closer to that state. But I don't know that we need to take a look at the timing again.
maybe the timing's the wrong word, Lynn. Maybe the right word is what we actually want out of the evaluation, the
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
So why don't we frame it that way?
Great.
So, so would it, do we need a motion, or I'm just suggesting sometime between now and March, that the curriculum committee look at this. Is that reasonable, or what do we?
So, yes, that's reasonable, we can do that, but what I'm thinking, we're gonna, at the next meeting, we're going to
This is not for now.
complete this.
Yes.
Right, so really, we're looking at the next cycle.
Correct.
Okay,
This is all about the next cycle.
got it.
So the idea is we finish this one with Liz Diggins and I doing the work together. And then we get that done, and then your committee meets and talks about this, and maybe we find out a better way to do it, and you come back with recommendations sometime before March.
Okay,
That's what I'm thinking.
okay.
Does that
Yes.
work? Do we need a motion for that, or everybody's good with that? All right, cool. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't mean to surprise you with that, Liz. It's just, okay. All right. We are on update.
Okay.
Superintendent update.
I am going to continue some of the positive tone that we had from our incredible building leaders this evening. We've gotten some state recognition in the past couple of weeks, and it's been wonderful to see. All the way from our instruction work that we're doing to our operations. And it starts with our APS food services team was featured. They were both the opener and the last item in the DESE Food Nutrition Monthly newsletter. And I wanted to share the picture that they had shared at the top of the newsletter, as well as some of the write-up. I couldn't get all of it in there because there was a really long write-up. But our food services team, our food services director participated in our working groups and in our strategic planning process. One of the things that came out of that was a lot of conversation about how to provide meals that contributed to the work we were trying to do to help our students learn about different cultures and help our students feel belonging in our schools. And so they've done a lot of work over the last few years to learn about some of the food traditions in different cultures. And this feature was about some of the work that they have done. So this was featuring a Cambodian dish that I might not say correctly. Does anybody else know how to say it before I butcher this? No? Khmer curry. Cool. It looks delicious. And it's a coconut-based dish that is celebrating the Cambodian New Year. There are a lot of New Year dishes, and so the food services team really kind of grabbed a hold of that because it's easy to find a lot of different New Year's dishes across all of the different New Years, and there's so many New Years across the year that there are a lot of then opportunities for them to integrate this into some of what they are doing. And they had staff members, they've had a lot of staff members from all of the different cultures that are on our food services team who weigh in on what that food includes and what it should look like, so that we're making sure that we do it authentically and that we're representing whatever culture it is that they're making the food for well. So that is now getting some state notice, and also a shout out and links to our school lunch menus by the state, which is very exciting. We were also invited to a Celebrating Academic Success conference with some of the other districts that were high performing this fall when outcomes were released. And at that conference, we shared some powerful and impactful practices at the district level and at the school levels. There were some school teams that also went. This was at no cost to the district for us to participate in this and to go and share some of the great work we're doing and some of the things that we're also learning. We only had a couple people from some of the school teams that were able to go. We're trying to not have it be too intrusive in the day, but it was exciting to be invited and to have the opportunity to share some of the work that we're doing. Ms. Pierre shared some of the work happening with the Spy Ponder Threads closet at the district level to help families get access to whatever it is that they need at that conference. And so it was a lot of fun being part of that. And there's a picture there of our team hanging out with the commissioner, who is also an Arlington parent. So also want to celebrate some incredible instruction that we have happening in our schools. You heard a ton about it, so I won't dwell on this, but I had the best classroom visits are usually the impromptu ones, the ones that I am not planning on doing, but I show up at a school and I have an extra 5 minutes and off we go. Happened to walk into an 8th grade civics class that was a co-taught class with Mr. Livingstone and Ms. Ross. They are co-teachers for their learning community. And they were in the middle of a multi-day lesson that was focused on the fundamental tenets of democracy and governmental authority, and they were learning the history of our Constitution at the same time. This was a jam-packed lesson, and I got a lot of context about some of the work that they've been doing, and it was the best thing to walk into in the middle of a very busy day because it gave so much faith in the work that we're doing in our schools, and that the teachers are really taking it very seriously, building out these deeper learning opportunities. I just wanted to share this as an example of what excellent deeper learning and excellent co-teaching look like. What the students had to do for this task was research and then role play historical figures, and then they had to develop their own constitution as a class, and then engage in, and to do that, they had to engage in deliberations with other delegates, their classmates, in order to argue their perspective and the interests of their constituents from the role that they were in, the historical role that they were in, and then arrive at compromises to develop this constitution. Very, very complex task. They had to know the history, they had to know the language, they had to know the tenets that they were arguing about and for in the Constitution as it currently exists, and then they had to sort of creatively develop their own Constitution with compromises by getting other delegates onto their side when they did the vote as a whole class. So this is great deeper learning, in part because it's calling on the kids to articulate their own ideas and share what they believe it should be, and how that might contrast, for example, with the historical figure that they're representing. They had to demonstrate disciplinary knowledge and mastery of the standards. This picture right here, there were word walls in these classrooms that had government terms, civics terms on them, and they had to use these terms, and you heard the kids using the terms as they talked with the delegates, their classmates, about what their position was on something. And then they had to deploy whatever those skills were in new ways that were unique to them, and they had to be creative about how they went about choosing which delegate to argue their point with. There was a really high cognitive demand on this, and all of the students had to engage meaningfully with grade level standards. There were accommodations and adaptations happening in that classroom. You wouldn't have been able to see them, though, and they were accessible to every single student in that room. It was great co-teaching for that reason, and also because these two teachers had worked together on the lesson design. It was very apparent that both of them knew what the expectations were for this task, what the expectations were for their kids' engagement in the classroom that day, and that they were both working to maximize accessibility for all of the students, and that the teachers weren't assigned to a student. Like, you couldn't tell that teachers went with students. And that's usually the goal when you walk into an inclusion classroom. So the adults are all there for all of the kids, and that it's designed in such a way that no student feels like they're being singled out because there might be a need there that their classmate next to them doesn't have. And it just made my month. So I had to share it with all of you. And also because I think people don't always know what we're talking about when we talk about what's deeper learning, what does it look like? What is rigor, what does it look like? How do we know when it's there when we walk into a classroom? This is how we know. And every single student in that room was deeply engaged in this process, could explain to me what they were learning and how they had learned it, and were excited to go argue their stance with their co-historical figure classmates. So it was really pretty amazing. And so kudos to the Ottoson team, to Mr. Livingstone and Ms. Ross for the work that they're doing. Okay, a few logistics to share. We have a budget forum next week on December 10th at 7 p.m. It's being hosted jointly by the Budget Subcommittee for the School Committee and the Community Relations Subcommittee for the School Committee. And these is the first in a 3-part forum series in December and January. I'm sure Ms. Gittleson and Dr. Allison Ampe would talk about it also in their updates, but wanted to make sure that community members knew that all forums will be recorded, shared, posted online. Folks are welcome to join us at the Discourse Lab or to join us virtually or to watch the recording afterwards. In this first one, we'll be talking about sort of how the budget is built and how the schools are financed and how dollars are allocated, and just do some brief overview about all of those things and answer anybody's questions about how some of those decisions get made and how the schools get funded by the town. We're also going to be hosting, as Dr. Jenger had pointed out, a heterogeneous grouping family information session on December 10th from 5:30 to 6:30. It's really targeted at incoming grade 9 and 10 families, was advertised to middle school families as well as grade 9 families about the proposal that we'll be bringing to you for heterogeneous English at 10th grade. It pertains really only to ELA classes because that's the only disciplinary area where we're considering moving the heterogeneous grouping up to. But all are welcome if anybody is interested in learning more about how this works at the high school. We did complete our fiscal 25 end of year report at the end of October, and the finance team and our assistant superintendent of finance and operations created the memo that you had gotten, I think maybe 2 years ago was the last time. And so you can review that at your leisure. If you have any questions, send them to Mr. Schweitzer and copy me on that correspondence, please. And your December enrollments are in the materials for this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Schlickman?
If we could just advertise the heterogeneous online information session as a heterogeneous ELA online information session.
Sure, we can add
I
ELA
think that
flyer.
would lower the temperature quite a bit.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'll share that with Dr. Jenger.
Okay, thank you very much. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the committee so requests, in which event the item will be considered in its normal sequence. Warrant number 26121, dated November 25th, 2025, for $906,110.33. 2026 school committee proposal for Nagaokiko. Oh man, did I mess that up, Paul? What an embarrassment.
Nagaokiko.
Nagaokiko.
Yeah.
No.
It took me a long time to learn that, and I had a native teacher. It's tough.
Let's leave that alone. Arlington School Committee draft meeting minutes, November 6, 2025. Arlington School Committee draft meeting minutes, November 18, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Exton, seconded by Ms. Gittleson. We're going to do a roll call because we started the meeting with a roll call. Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. That's unanimous. Very good. Subcommittee liaison reports, announcements, budget. Dr. Allison Ampe isn't here. Mr. Carden, you want to give it?
Sure. So we met on yesterday, right, Wednesday, to go over some preparation for our long-range planning meeting tomorrow. We scrubbed the numbers. We are proposing for discussion, moving away from having in the long-range plan the separate buckets for special education and regular education, collapsing them into one category. The growth rate that results from that, if we didn't change anything, if we just left it at 6.5% for special ed and 4% for regular ed, the blended rate would be 4.5%. But we scrubbed the numbers. We have a significant number of retirements already coming in for next year, and we're comfortable that we can drop it to 4.25%. That will save some money in the long-range plan, will lower the override amount, which is what everybody is working towards right now, and we'll be discussing more of that tomorrow. So if anyone has any questions, contact me or Kiersey about that.
Anything to add?
That's it.
Any next steps for this committee right now?
We are meeting again on Monday, depending on if we get more direction at the meeting tomorrow or to prepare for the budget forums. Otherwise, we may cancel the meeting.
Thank you. Community relations?
We have our meeting tomorrow afternoon, a fully remote meeting at 4 o'clock. It is a packed agenda. And then we are also co-hosting the budget forum next week.
Curriculum, instruction, assessment, and accountability, which seems to talk about, evaluation. Just kind of riffing on your great line, though. It's a very good line.
We have a meeting scheduled for the beginning of January, and we will be scheduling another meeting to discuss the superintendent's evaluation.
Thank you. Facilities, there's no report. Policies and procedures, Mr. Schlickman?
We've got a long list of things to work on, and we're going to try to, we're still trying to schedule a meeting, but I also want to call to your attention sort of interesting little exchange with a consultant to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. As you recall, earlier this year, we passed a revised File LB and LBA, which was our CTE policy. This was a really good policy. We worked with the superintendent at Minuteman and worked out every detail in this policy, starting with a model policy, came up with something that was both in line with state regulations, aspirational for us, and aligned with our practice. So it's a very good policy. And unfortunately, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education required us to submit our policy to them, and they promptly sent it to a consulting firm by the name of American Institute for Research from Arlington, Virginia. And this research associate, who is a couple of years out of college, wrote back with a significant criticism of our policy. With 3 bullet points, it was noted that the following needs revision or clarification. So after considerable consultation with both Superintendent Holman, the superintendent of Minuteman, the executive director of MASC, Mr. Kuchar, I sent a response basically saying, thank you very much, we're happy with our policy, we decline to make any further changes.
And he wrote in passive voice? It was noted?
It was, she wrote, it was noted the following needs revision or clarification. Now, bear in mind that 8 years ago she was selling stuff at TJ Maxx, according to her LinkedIn. But this is, DESE has gotten so much better than when I first got involved in the business, and they've been very collaborative and working hard with us, and it was really sort of an unfortunate thing on the day before Thanksgiving break. We get this critical little email from this critical little consultant, junior consultant. Okay, so I just wanted you to be aware of that. Now, if anybody has the appetite for changing the policy to align with what this little consultant said, we'll exercise it. But I felt the committee needed to know that we got this feedback and we've sort of declined to entertain them. I can forward the email to you if you so desire.
Ms. Exton? About the email?
I would like to add to the policy and procedures list of policies. I would like to make a motion to refer policy BEA, regular school committee meetings, to the policy and procedures subcommittee, and if I get a second, I can tell people more.
Sure, go ahead.
So specifically around the language, this approved school committee calendar shall be distributed to all principals and administrators with instructions that every effort shall be made to avoid scheduling evening events on school committee nights. So that's how it's reads right now. And this has been a conversation that we've had all fall, and I've talked to Dr. Homan about it. And so I think I would like to refer this part of the policy to the subcommittee so that they can work to make it more specific, to provide more guidance to the superintendent around specifically which events we mean. And to support the directors and principals who are trying to schedule things by giving them a date certain by which they will have those dates so that we don't have conflicts going forward.
That's an excellent suggestion, and I would support that motion.
So we have a motion to refer the two. Do you have a date when you want to report by? No. Okay.
I know there's a lot of,
Yeah, okay.
I mean-
So we have the motion, we have the second. Any other discussion? Roll call. Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. That's.
Lost my doctorate.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to use that one.
Reverend
time.
Doctor. We can convey divinity degrees as well.
Okay. Arlington High School Building Committee has no report. We didn't meet. Liaison reports, announcements, future agenda items. Do we have an executive session? We do not.
Yes, we do. We don't need to come back from it. We do need to.
We do have an executive session. Okay. And we're not coming back. So executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. That's the motion.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. So I made
Moved it, okay.
a motion, Ms. Exton seconded it. We have to take a roll call. Ms. Sadat.
Yes.
Ms. Exton.
Yes.
Mr. Carden.
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman.
Yes.
Dr. Gittleson.
Yes, it's been a long evening.
And the chair says yes. It has been a long evening.